The following is rated TV MALSV. It contains strong language, violence, and nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion advised.
It's Friday night, and we gonna talk about them bears. We gonna do it unrestrained. Better believe there'll be some swears. It's the Willis twins. They double down on the bears. Plus the rocker and the podfather, and the guy who does state of affairs. We're Bears fans! Let's burn this fucker down! Cancel all your plans! Let's bear the fuck down! It's Friday night, and we gonna talk about them Bears. We gonna do it unrestrained. Better believe there'll be some swears. Let's burn this fucker down. Cancel all your plans. Let's bear the fuck down. It's Friday night, and we gotta talk about them
Thank you, legal marijuana. Thank you.
That was killer, man.
Literally the sickest intro in the history of the heavy metal, the lyrics. It's Friday night. I'm getting into it still right now.
My goodness, I got to credit, maybe they will sponsor us. Revolution Cannabis.
Yes, sponsor us.
I'm working on that all day. My wife is asking me, why do you keep going outside? And then you come back a couple of minutes later. Oh,
I wonder.
Guys, everyone in the chat, thank you very much. And thank you for the kind words regarding the Open and the fact that we are on tonight with this special barroom mashup. It is Their Soulz with Johnny Santucci, Zim Zimmerman. Hopefully will join us later. And of course, the Willis Twin Towers podcast co-hosts, Jeff Willis and Tim Willis. I got to tell you, first of all, Tim and Jeff have been one of the coolest additions to the barroom history, to use Tim's words. You guys have really inspired me to work a little harder to create more creative things. You guys are prepared for shows. You got interesting takes. I love the chemistry between the two of you guys. And I hope that Tooch and hopefully Zim, that we don't fuck up your chemistry tonight, because I want to see you guys go at it.
You guys can never pass. First of all, Aldo, that was like such a heartfelt and absolutely much appreciated thing to say. We really appreciate. You're the reason we even have this opportunity in the first place. So we should be thanking you, Aldo. You are the man. But we do appreciate that so much. It's such a wonderful compliment. But you guys can never get in the way of our synergy, because, quite frankly, there's no synergy except for me and Tim arguing with each other, which is a given. So we're going to have that regardless.
That's right.
Can't wait to get into brings a type of energy called electricity.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kinetic energy built up.
And I'm going to extend the good words to my friend Tooch. Tooch and I met now, it's 10 years, I think, that we met. Maybe 9 years
almost
ago.
10, yeah. It's 2017, maybe.
Right. And he took a liking to what we were doing. He and I got together, went down to Bourbonnais. He was giving me directions down there. We went totally 30 minutes out of our way because all he was doing was talking, not paying attention. I'm like, you're the goddamn co-pilot here.
Fail.
But he and I have developed a really close kind of brotherly relationship, and I truly appreciate that. And hopefully Zim will join us. I don't have anything nice to say about Zim, so fuck him. But we got so much to talk about today. It is Robert Lee is asking, is Colston good to go? We'll know that tomorrow when he does his physical, and I hope that we'll get news later in the day that he's ready to go. He said that he was feeling 100%, but he did not commit to saying that he would be ready for the first practices. So we'll see about that. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the contracts. We're going to talk about our expectations for this upcoming season. Tooch has a bare state of affairs. Jeff and Tim are going to have rock'em sock'em robots between them. And who knows what else. Hopefully, again, Zim will join us so that we can get his take on some of this stuff. And as always, we'll be paying close attention to you in the chat and sharing your comments and questions. It's always a great addition to any of our barroom shows, because we like to make it as interactive and as engaging as possible. Cliff Victoria says, as expected, Bears second rounders signed this week, yet people seem to be surprised by it. Cliff, and I'd love to get you guys, Tim, Jeff, and Tooch, the narrative that the Bears are cheap. I gotta give that a fucking break, man, because it's just not so. They spend money on contracts. They fired people in the middle of the season when they still had money left on their contracts. They've given out big fat contracts to Montez Sweat, Julius Peppers, blah blah blah. There's a salary cap. They can't escape, paying the labor costs. And the Hallis Hall is a state-of-the-art facility. The new players that come in there are impressed and say, this is awesome. Tim, Jeff, Tooch, what do you guys think? Should people just shut the fuck up about this narrative, or am I missing something?
No, I think you're right. 100%. And I think what it comes down to is it's never been a player thing. I don't think it's not even really necessarily been front office. I just think they haven't paid well for coaches in the past. And because of that, you get what you pay for. And that's why they haven't necessarily had the greatest pool of coaches coming in to interview. And I think that had a lot to do with it.
Great point.
But as far as, like you said, the facilities and the players, again, the salary cap, like you said, has everything to do with that. They're paying the Bears aren't like consistently way under the cap every year. I mean, for a while there, we were above the cap and having to fight to get back under it. But I think I agree with you 100%. That narrative needs to be shut down. I think people just have this preconceived notion about who and how the McCaskies are and haven't really given them a chance to, now that Kevin Warren is in the building, get a better opinion on the family now, in my opinion. That's where a lot of it is.
What do you think, Jeff?
Well, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. I was one of the points you were talking about, Aldo, with the brand new Hallis Hall and how state of the art that is. Everybody that enters that building, everybody from the outside in, both draft picks, executives, coaches, people, just reporters, people just coming in and out of the building who aren't even part of the organization, rant and rave about how awesome this building is and how wonderful this facility is. So it's something they clearly invested in. As far as paying players, they've done that. They've given guaranteed money to guys. Now they've paid a coach surplus money to make sure they got their guy. They're not afraid to pay people. I think if you can make one gripe about the Bears and potentially being tight, quote unquote, they're going to still ask for public funding for this stadium, and people want them to pay for it on their own. That may be the one gripe that you can make about that. But other than that, I don't think you could say anything about the way they've run the organization as far as pouring investment into making the football team better. They put the money there. Just I don't know if the resources have been allocated the best way over the past dozen years or so.
Yeah. And with the stadium deal, almost every team, 95% of the teams get help when they're building a new stadium. I think Buffalo is one of the only ones that hasn't. And so you gotta at least say, I think, that, hey, they gotta give it a shot. Try to get some public money, and hopefully the government will say no and they'll pay for it all on their own. But they're definitely going to get money just because there's going to be infrastructure changes. The highway needs to be expanded, blah, 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 and so forth. But Tooch, what do you think about this narrative about the Bears?
They've got plenty of money since they raised ticket prices again, Aldo.
There he goes. Always bringing the facts.
I was actually surprised that this narrative is still out there, though, kind of, It's, I mean, they've invested, especially this offseason, they've invested in the offensive line. They've spent money. And in the past, of course, they had the reputation from George Hallis, and you'd think George McCaskey, bearing his grandfather's namesake, would follow in his footsteps, but it hasn't been that way. I think that they understand that in order to have sustained success, you have to spend money.
Exactly. The big news of the day is Luther Burden III signs his rookie contract. It's fully guaranteed. I'm sure it's going to be one of the things Johnny Santucci is going to talk about in his Bears State of Affairs. A really a nice, short, crisp one tonight.
Yeah, pretty short. So busy at work usually. Yeah, it'll be shorter than normal, but still, Maybe.
I love it when you're busy at work because you send me the magazines that you're working on.
Yeah. Got something to send
guys,
out. Yep.
Tim and Jeff, listen closely because we will be talking about everything that Tooch brings up. And our intro music for Tooch has changed because Zimmerman told me the last one was too aggressive. The whole fucking fist thing and stuff.
I love that, though.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Too. So we're gonna play a softer version to introduce Bear State of Affairs.
It's time for John's Bears State of Affairs. He got nothing but truth bombs about the Bears. He tells it like it is and always has.
That chick, she got a good voice, man.
She does for AI.
I wonder if she's hot.
In my mind, she is.
She is, yeah. All right, Bears 2025 Bears Day Affairs off-season week 27. What's happening, Barflies? Yeah, well, the Bears will begin training camp tomorrow, Aldo. Yeah, rookies and quarterbacks report to Hallis Hall with veterans reporting on Monday. And by all accounts, there was a good deal of concern that the Bears' second-round picks could miss some or all of training camp. Yeah, this year the new trend of giving second-round picks guaranteed contracts has delayed contract negotiations with second-round picks around the league. Yeah, and of course, in a year of such turbulence, wouldn't you know it, the Bears have 3 second-round picks this year.
I know.
Yeah, well, can't make it easy on themselves. Yeah, not to worry, though. Ryan Poles' staff signed all 3 players over the past 48 hours, with 39th overall pick Luther Burden signing today, avoiding any holdouts.
I love it.
Yeah, no holdouts before the first practice on July 23rd. Yep, offensive tackle Ozzie Trapillo and defensive tackle Shamar Turner signed yesterday, with both receiving partially guaranteed contracts. Trapillo, he's expected to compete for the starting left tackle job, and Turner is expected to join the Bears' defensive line rotation. Yeah, Luther Burden, he became the 39th overall pick in NFL history to receive a fully guaranteed contract.
That's a W.
He hasn't been on the practice field since rookie minicamp due to injury, but it looks like he'll be ready for training camp. Yeah, he was recently seen working out with Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson. And with the Luther Burden signing, the Bears now have all of their draft picks signed before training camp. Yeah, but believe it or not, that wasn't even the big contract news. Yeah. Just last week, the Bears and general manager Ryan Poles reached an agreement on a contract extension that will keep him in Chicago for the next 5 years. Yeah, he'll be locked up for the next 5 years, all the way through the 2029 season. Yeah, and since being hired in 2022, Ryan Poles is overseen.
Sorry.
Yeah, it might not have been that premature, though. Ryan Poles he's overseen a full-scale rebuild in Chicago. Yeah, he engineered the blockbuster trade of the Bears' #1 overall pick in 2023 to the Carolina Panthers. That trade turned into DJ Moore, Caleb Williams, Darnell Wright, Tariq Stevenson, and Luther Burden.
Nice.
Largely probably earned him that new contract.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he also hired Ben Johnson this offseason, signaling a new era of Bears football built around a franchise quarterback.
Yeah!
Yeah, Poles had 2 years remaining on his old deal, but now the Bears have Poles and Johnson both under contract for the next 5 seasons. Let me break this down for you, Aldo.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a major sea change for an organization that over the years has done things haphazardly. Yeah, and this is what Bears fans have always wanted. We've complained for years that the GM and coaches' contracts were never aligned. Now they're in sync. Yep, and while Ryan Poles' draft picks and free agency signings have largely been hit or miss, organizational continuity is important. Yeah, maybe the Bears have turned the corner and started to do things that will lead to sustained success. Yeah, maybe the team has the right people in place. From president to GM to head coach to, dare I say it, quarterback!
So, what the hell is he wearing?
Yes, the Bears' mercurial quarterback has been atypical of NFL quarterbacks. That's for sure. He's been prone to painting his nails.
Ay, Dios mío.
That's right, Heidi. And the occasional Esquire magazine photo shoot.
It's there somewhere. Oh!
Yeah, right. Yeah, Bears fans. Well, they're willing to overlook Caleb's flights of fancy if the Bears do find sustained success with the people they put in place. But deep down, everyone knows this season comes down to Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that all-important marriage between Caleb and Ben Johnson. That's got to work out, Aldo.
I hope so.
Yeah, head coach Ben Johnson said that this Bears offense will be different than his offense in Detroit. He fancies it, quote, a quarterback's offense. Yeah, said Johnson, we are going to tailor this offense to Caleb Williams. So, yeah, it all comes down to Caleb Williams. Yeah, but I'll tell you what. Any quarterback that's got the Lombardi trophy on his lock screen has got his head in the right place, whether you like it or not. Woo! And that's Bears state of affairs, man.
Well done.
He told it like it is and always will. Listen next week to get an earful of whatever's happening with the Chicago Bears. It always happens here with John's state of affairs. If you have to disagree, he's got a decree. Go fuck your fist cause you're on his blacklist. You just heard the bare truth right here and now. John gave it to you straight cause he's got no sacred cows. If you have to disagree, he's got a decree. Go fuck your fist cause you're on his blacklist. This was John's Bear state of affairs.
Well done, John. Very well done.
At least we got some fuck your fist in there at the end. I know we started off a little bit on the opposite spectrum, but we got some fuck your fist in there.
Jeff's had plenty of that all week.
Yeah. By the way, I got a feeling Zim is fucking his fist right now, which is why he's not here. Guys, Jeff and Tim, I know on last week's show, it was the day that was announced Ryan Poles got the contract extension. So you guys talked about it last week. But what do you think about
it? It was the day after we did our show.
Exactly.
Yes.
And the day before they did theirs.
Right. And so, Jeff, Tim, can you kind of recap your thoughts on that? And do you think that he deserved it and so forth, in case someone didn't hear your thoughts from last week?
Go ahead, Jeff. You start.
Well, I'll say basically the same thing I did on our show. Like, I don't dislike the move, and I totally understand the idea behind the alignment aspect. We've been bitching and moaning and groaning as Bears fans for years and years now about how this organization never does things in alignment. They fire the head coach after they've already allowed that head coach and GM to bring in a new quarterback. Then that quarterback is not on the same trajectory as the new head coach and GM. So that guy ends up losing his job. They bring in another quarterback, have the same thing over and over and over and over again. So we end up in this situation where now I see the idea here why you do this. You make everybody lined up on the same timeline. That all makes sense. The thing I would argue against with that is, a lot of people will talk about the record, and I understand that aspect as well. The record has sucked under his regime here, under Ryan Poles. So some of that you can kind of I don't want to say discredit, but we also have to consider the fact that it was a total rebuild from the beginning. Tore down the roster of studs. The salary cap situation was in total shambles, and he basically turned that all around, and now it's in good health. The roster's in good shape, so you have to give him credit for that. Now, again, the roster or the record does speak for itself. The last couple of years have been they regressed last year. Their record was worse than it was the year before, so you can't. I don't understand the idea of rewarding him for it right this minute. I understand the why behind it. I just don't understand why it had to be right now. That's basically what I was saying on our show last week is, again, I get it, but why now? It doesn't make a ton of sense to do it right this moment because I don't think you need to do it right this moment. But that's, whatever. I get it. I get why. I do.
Tim, you feel the same way or similarly? Hey! Tim froze on us.
He's thinking about it, Aldo.
He's really thinking.
Or fucking his sis.
That's a possibility.
Yeah, let me add this thoughts. Well, Tim, you might want to log out and then come back in. That might be the solution.
I think everything's good now. I don't know what just happened there.
All right. Well, so I asked you, did you agree with your brother Jeff, or do you agree? You have similar thoughts?
Yeah, I mostly agree with him. I think in what I remember last week, I was saying that it's the whole in my opinion, you had to give him the extension because you had to give him an opportunity to hire his own coach, even if the first one was his choice, which I don't think any of us believe it truly was. But even if he was his choice, you had to give him a second chance because it's very, very, very hard to hit on your head coach. Not very many teams have done so. And the way the Bears have done this, like Jeff was saying, it's just this constant revolving door. You fire the GM, then you hire a new coach, and then after 2 years, you fire the coach, and the next year you fire the GM, and it's just this constant revolving door, quarterback, GM, head coach, and you're never going to create continuity. You're never going to have an opportunity to see what they can build. Now, granted, I'm not sure that very many of the coaches or GMs in the past 20, 30 years have been anybody that I would even want to give another opportunity to. But if you don't, then you don't know what they're capable of doing. And I believe that Ryan Poles has done an excellent job of assembling a roster that should provide continuity in the future. Like, this is a team that's not built to be dominant this year or next year, but to have continued success over a long stretch of time. And I was explaining that last week that, with the draft picks and with these signings that he's made, he's able to sign players every year because he's not put himself in salary cap hell. He's able to, if he does need to cut bait with a player because they don't want to necessarily extend this player, for instance, Braxton Jones this year, you have guys in waiting. For instance, Ozzie Trapillo and Karan Amagaji. So he has done a very good job of creating depth and providing salary cap space to go after priority free agents if that's something that they want to do. Now it's time to see, did he bring in the right head coach, which we're all hopeful was the case, and can they win together? And it seems to be that they both have that unity together. Like they're on the same page. Like, this is the alignment that we've all been talking about. And if this does hit, then we'll know that this was clearly the right decision to extend him now. And I think Jeff had said moments ago that the timing didn't really make sense to him. But the more I think about it, yeah, they did it when on a Friday before training camp, before anything else was going on, because they knew they were going into the weekend and there would probably be no headlines on this until Monday. Don't play into this very big. Like, it's not a big deal to us. They don't need to make it a big deal in the media and blow us up with questions about this. So maybe there was some of that to it. I don't know, but it would make sense. It's plausible either way. So, but like I said, I do agree with Jeff in that regard. I do think I'm not upset with the decision. I think it was the right decision. And I mean, what's the other option? Fire him after this year and look for another GM again? I don't really think that's the answer.
Well, the other option is to see how this season plays out and to see if right. If Caleb stinks it up this year, then he clearly made a mistake and not at least talking to Jaden Daniels during that draft process. Now, I don't think Caleb is going to flunk out. I don't think that's going to be the issue. And in fact, I agree with you, Tim, that the player personnel decisions that he has made has been far better than anything close to mediocre or bad. I mean, he's made some really good decisions, and we'll talk about some of them a little later. But I think his original sin was agreeing with the McCaskey family or with Bill Polian that Eberflus should have even been a candidate, because we now know that the word in Indianapolis was the players despised him, that he really didn't have the chops to be a defensive coordinator. The worst thing you can be as a leader of men now is to be corny. And that's what Dan Wiederer wrote about us, that he was a corny guy and that he was sometimes reclusive at Hallis Hall and stuff. He just was not a leader. And besides making that mistake, the second mistake he made was not firing him leading into the 2024 season. Now, I know people say, well, then Ben Johnson wouldn't have been available because he wanted another year. We would have been stuck with a Dan Quinn. Well, that's not too bad. But nonetheless, if he really, really wanted to win in 2024, he should have fired his coach, and he should have found the head coach to marry along with his first round pick, Caleb Williams, and start that partnership. Tucci, I know you agree with me because you're as ugly as I am.
I agree. I agree with most of what you're saying for sure. There's multiple things to unpack here. First, if he did fire Eberflus, would we have Ben Johnson? Because maybe he wouldn't have come last year,
right?
And this year we do have him. So, but I'm not so sure that Poles and past Bears GMs haven't lucked into certain situations of good fortune. And with Poles, there's a lot of shades of what happened with Pace. They were both young, first-time GMs who had head coaches sort of suggested or forced on them. Ryan Pace with John Fox, and then he was allowed to hire his own coach for the other time, and Poles likely the same thing. And Bears State of Affair made a big deal about maybe the Bears have turned a corner. They've changed. Now we're aligned. We're looking for building success and team continuity. But is it really that way? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's like a veneer, something false. But that remains to be seen. What time will uncover. But with Poles, you look at the record, and he oversaw a rebuild. Okay, so the record, you can't really hold that against him. But he's had 3 head coaches, 4 offensive coordinators. There were some questionable free agent signings and draft pick. He's done. There's a lot of good with a lot of bad. He's done good work with the cap. We're in good position cap wise.
Right.
There's been some this year's draft class looks pretty good. I mean, in the past, he's had a tendency to hold on to draft picks. That's not anything I'm telling you that's new. It took him a while to cut Velus Jones. This year he still has Dominique Robinson, who we'll see if he decides to hold on to him, or Zach Pickens, or any of these guys that didn't work out or may not work out. Whatever, but the Bears, they have this habit of hiring these guys who learn on the job. Like Ryan Poles, it looks like it took him a few years to ramp up. And he was rewarded with a contract. Good for him. I think it's important to have the coach and GM aligned. And the quarterback is signed through what? Close to that, right? 20.
Yeah, well, he's
28. So they're close.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're close to all 3 being aligned, and we'll see. I mean, Aldo and I have seen this organization for decades. Unable to put it all together.
Making the same mistakes over and over
making
again.
the same mistakes over
especially since McCaskey took over as the chairman. He would just allow some things. The other thing that I wanted to mention about Poles' mistake is he should have sat down with Eberflus at some point well before the season and gone over things. I want to learn how you are going to handle certain situations. He did that during the interview for the offensive coordinator. Didn't he do that with Eberflus? Okay, with 2 minutes left, how are you going to use your timeouts? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? And try to foresee problems. Instead, there were so many things that Eberflus did incorrectly or failed to do properly that they were things that, with good communication and good foresight, those things could have been avoided. The fact that this Bears team, the 2024 Bears team, was not competing for a playoff spot, seriously competing, because I remember seeing the graphic in late November, still in the hunt, the Chicago Bears, yet they were 3 or 4 games under 500. Seriously, they should have seriously been in the hunt for a playoff spot in December, because there were games that were lost primarily because of Matt Eberflus. I got a surprise for you guys. There's a guy Who likes to fuck his fist.
Uh-oh.
He's here. That's not him.
That's not him.
There he is.
There he is in the middle. Zim, how are you, brother?
What's up, guys? Well, I heard that NFL teams are giving out fully guaranteed contracts to anybody wearing a college jersey these days. So just had to throw one on and give it my best shot.
Man.
I love it, man. Hey, we were just kind of talking about the whole contract extension for Ryan Poles. Are you a fan of it, or what? What are your thoughts?
Here, I want to give my exact thoughts because I have a Bears group chat that I'm a part of on X, the site formerly known as Twitter, and let's see. My exact hot take reaction was his handling of the cap is worthy of the extension, but that's about it. So, and that's to summarize, not just what he's done with the cap specifically, looking at like the next 3 to 4 years specifically, but looking at what he inherited and how he turned it into this beneficial situation as well, where I don't think we've ever had a general manager in Bears history who's been able to take such a horrible situation and turn it into one that's generally positive for the team, where they have a true exit strategy if Caleb Williams does not work out. Like, what's really crazy is not only do they have this really nice, like, rookie QB window, the rookie contract window that all these teams talk about, and they built this very nice roster potentially around this rookie deal, but he said what I was thinking. There's a reason I'm stumbling through this.
50, believe me, he's been doing it for like weeks now. Nobody understands why.
There's the screen grab of the night.
I'm just a much younger, skinnier, and everything else Tom Selleck over
here. Smaller and ugly.
Hang on, can somebody break down who Tom Selleck is for me, please?
Yeah, I was just going to say.
I'm kidding. He was on like half a season of Friends.
He was.
That's right.
He was.
Yeah.
Genuinely, that's probably the thing I know him best from, which is how sad is that?
And now
he's Mr. Baseball.
Now he's trying to steal my retirement funds. With
through the Ponzi scheme. That's right, the timeshare scam.
Yeah, some shit. I don't know what it is. I don't trust him.
Anyways,
finish up your thoughts, Sim.
That's my long and short of it. Is just like looking at the situation that not only he inherited, but the situation that he developed and improved, in the sense that like he's given himself a potential for a second opportunity, for a second swing at a quarterback. If he should make it that long, which with this 5-year extension, he will now. Mm-hmm. If this Caleb Williams things for whatever reason doesn't work out, and the Bears decide to ignore the fact that would be a massive organizational failure, he has the chance to take another swing. He has set himself up for it. He set the entire organization up for a clean reset in 2028 if it's really needed, which, again, it's a good thing and a bad thing, but at the same time, there's a lot of space in that cap in 2028 where if Caleb Williams plays well, that $500 million contract is not unheard of with the amount of cap space that they're going to have.
Absolutely.
Like he's set it up very nicely to, again, either reset or extend and then create an entirely new roster. It's actually really cool, in my opinion, the thing that he's done, because he's left himself so many different, or whoever's there, he's left the organization so many different exit strategies in the next few years. And so that's why I say his handling of the cap is absolutely extension worthy, because now he's able to see through this situation that he's set up with the cap. However, one of the worst records of a GM in his time with the Bears, absolutely flubbed the head coaching choice with Matt Eberflus, really failed to find a decent defensive coordinator to pair with Matt Eberflus 2 times, not just once, but twice. And granted, you're taking Eberflus's word on a lot of that. The coach builds a lot of the staff, but he signs the contract at the end of the day. It's tied to him, so at the end of the day, this entire contract is going to come down to whether or not he wins now.
Zim, Tooch mentioned his Bear State of Affairs, the trade that, and he has had the graphic. Can you put that up for us, Tooch? Had the graphic as to what it has yielded. And a number of people in the chat room think that you are perhaps underplaying this trade because it is looking good on paper right now.
This trade on paper is an outright win, no matter how you look at it. It does not matter how good Bryce Young is. He does not contribute what those 5 players will contribute to the Bears over the course of his contract. Point blank. Like it does not matter how well Bryce Young, he could bring a Super Bowl to Carolina, and I still don't think that would equate to what those 5 players are bringing to the Chicago Bears.
Here's what Swift says. Best trade in NFL history, but yeah, all Poles did is manage the cap.
I don't know about best trade in NFL history. I think the Minnesota Vikings might still have us on that one. But
you mean Dallas Cowboys?
Well,
the Herschel Walker trade?
Yes.
Yeah. But his point is that, Zim, you're basically giving him the most credit for managing the cap and not any credit or enough credit for that trade. Those are the fighting words.
That trade was a no-brainer. That trade was, to me, so much simpler than it's made out to be. It's literally, would you rather see what your promising sophomore quarterback has to offer for another season, or would you like to draft Kyler Murray but smaller? And Kyler Murray, for all of his talents, for all of his upside, for all of the things he can do, you know what he hasn't done? Win.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's all there is to it. So I don't think there's anything wrong with making that trade. I think that any general manager, aside from the guy in Carolina, would honestly, no. I think even the guy in Carolina, if he's sitting at the number 1 pick and somebody offers him that package, I mean, you'd have to Old Yeller his ass if he didn't take that trade.
But Zim, the argument Swift is making, and I think Tim and Jeff, because I'm reading minds here, I think they agree, is we know it was a good trade. We know he had to make that trade.
Mm-hmm.
But you are, when evaluating whether he should have got this contract extension, you're not accounting for that. You're just
I'm not accounting for that. He inherited a terrible roster. Of course he was going to tank for 2 seasons. Somebody was stupid enough to come along and offer him that trade. You'd have to be even stupider than the person offering the trade not to accept it.
Yeah, but also part of that, he's going to also have to negotiate that too. It's not like I'm sure Carolina didn't walk in there and say, we'll offer you all these picks plus DJ Moore for your number 1 pick. They probably offered him half that maybe, and Poles was probably able to negotiate all of that, which is part of the conversation.
It's totally a valid point. But at the end of the day, I think that any GM worth his salt should be able to negotiate a trade like that. And the fact that he managed to turn it into 5 starters, potentially 5 starters, it should absolutely not be underwritten by any means. However, only 2 of those guys are like truly proven. Well, only 1 of those guys is truly proven as a starter. Only 2 of those guys are truly believed to be solid starters by the rest of the league, as far as I can tell. And the other 3 guys, one of them's a rookie who has yet to take a snap with the rest of his teammates and is wearing a number that it sounds like he's not even going to wear when the season starts, and just signed his contract today. And the other 2 guys in Tyreek Stevenson and Darnell Wright, I mean, they're at this point in their careers, and they're very young. They're second-year players. I completely understand that it's not completely fair to judge them outright right now. While they are starters for this team, they're very middling starters by league comparison.
I got to jump in.
Darnell Wright's pretty good, though.
Darnell Wright is pretty good, but is he top 7 good? Is he top 10 good?
He could be.
He could be.
Early 20s.
But that's the problem. He could be. We're judging it right now at the time of the extension. And that's the thing. You're not extending him based on what these players could be. You're extending him based on what he's done and what he will continue to bring you.
To be fair, though, Zim, to be fair, good GMs, when they realize they have that kind of talent accumulated and they do see that potential for that talent to ascend, they get out in front and they get these things done. And so to be fair to a good organizational move is to get out in front and make that deal. But I would, like I said before, I don't know if I love the timing of it, but I don't know that I agree that he hasn't made moves that are are worthy of
But
this. I mean, that was a damn good trade.
That's part of why I applaud his cap handling. The Jalen Johnson move, the DJ Moore move, the I mean, frankly, the Montez Sweat extension and the Dio. I keep wanting to say Asunmu because of Io Dosunmu. Dio Odangbo, excuse me. Yes. But the Dio Odangbo contract, if Odangbo is the guy that they project him to be, will turn out to be a very good move. And again, we're basing all this right now in July of 2025 when the guy has put together an atrocious product on the field. Well, what I came into, Aldo saying this man should have significantly more wins than he does if he has a better head coach on the field for his team. So it's, to me, it's a whole lot of
Zim. I'm telling you, you are getting crucified in the chat room.
I completely understand it. I truly
it's
do.
coming for you, Zim.
They're all
the Terminator.
Look at the face.
Muck says you're a clown. Get the fuck out of here. J2K says, how good was Troy Aikman in his rookie?
No. I'm not trying to say anything about any of these players other than exactly what we're seeing right now with the product in front of us. I have full faith in these players. I truly believe that they are going to ascend and continue to ascend. But at the same time, you're not extending them based on what you expect. You're extending Ryan Poles based on what he's done.
Zim, so
you're allowing him to see it through at the same time. I completely understand that. And again, that's why I like it, because they're allowing him to see through all these contracts that he set up, this entire situation that he set up for this team. He is going to captain this ship, whether it sinks or sails.
Zim, the soundbite from Ben Johnson's press conferences that stands out the most, and he's had some really brilliant things to say, but the one that stands out the most to me is when he said, I have seen a lot of bad coaching in this league. And I think that won over Ryan Poles' heart, because Ryan Poles is saying, I got fucking Eberflus the players to compete. And I agree with him. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that they were badly coached. And so I think your assessment of those players that Poles has acquired over the years is incorrect, because you're not accounting to the fact that Eberflus had his thumb up his ass and was sucking his other thumb while he was doing that.
No, I mean, I completely agree. Again, I'm not
so bad that team mutinied on the coach.
Exactly. Yes. I'm not disagreeing with anything that y'all are putting out there. I'm really just saying that, like, the coaching is part of the evaluation of Ryan Poles is the thing. Because Ryan Poles ultimately put those coaches in that position. Like, and we can't forget about that. Like, these guys may have underperformed because of the coaching, and I understand his arm was probably twisted behind closed doors in order to make these moves.
Does Drake have it right when he says, well, to defend him, I think he was basically saying the trade was off, and so he's not far off. He just doesn't think the trade should be the reason Poles got the extension. Is that correct?
To an extent, yeah. Like, the thing is, he made the trade, but the thing that warranted the extension is how he followed up the trade. You know, and that's what I'm trying to say here, is the way he set this team up beyond the trade. The trade was a no-brainer. Any GM, like I've said before, any GM worth his salt makes that trade.
Bullshit!
I'm not sure that's right, because some other GM would have said, you know what, Bryce Young is going to be the guy. Or even, the other quarterback. So there was that thing that you could have moved on from Justin Fields. His trade value probably would have been even higher going into the 2024 season, the year they drafted Caleb Johnson. So I don't totally disagree with what you're saying there, Zim, but it's hard to say that it was a no-brainer. Definitely a no-brainer. What do you guys think?
I would say I would agree with that too, Aldo, just because, I mean, there were a lot of people who said the Bears should just take Bryce Young there or take CJ Stroud there and not move down, that they needed to move on from Justin Fields right then and there. They'd seen enough at the time. So there are definitely people out there that would have kept that pick if they were the Bears. And also too, I mean, you mentioned that, they made this move based on what he's done. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that's part of it. Part of it is obviously based on what he's done in the past, but also the way they expect the future of this team to go. That is obviously a part of this, in my opinion. The organization is looking at this like we're in a good position to ascend at this point, and we are going to extend this guy based on the way we see this organization headed. I think that's a big part of it, not just where he's at and what he's done to this point.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Mr. Tim Willis? You think that Zim is full of shit like most of the people in the chat?
I would not use those words.
Thank you.
I think
my wife would.
Look, I get where he's coming from. I don't agree with most of what he's saying in that regard, but like I do understand to a point. And like there were guys in the chat last Friday when Jeff and I were discussing this that were making points about the record and all of that. And to me, record has never really been a general manager's stat line. Like that's not what you're judging your general manager on, but you are judging him on the coach that he hired that is responsible for that record. So at the end of the day, it does go towards the general manager, but it's not like one of the most, in my opinion, it's like not the most important aspect of the hire for him. But if you go and look at the track record of Ryan Poles, what is the one glaring thing that looks back at you on his tenure? It is the record. So take the record out of the equation and tell me that he hasn't necessarily earned the contract extension. Take away Matt Eberflus and take away the wins and loss record and tell me that he hasn't done enough to be warranted of an extension. Now, if you want to argue the timing of it all day, I will grant anybody that argument because it was odd timing. And yes, there are points that have been made on this show tonight that he had 2 years left on his contract. Why not wait and see until the end of the season? But at the same time, and I mentioned this last week, the Bears like to get ahead of these kinds of things. They don't like waiting. And what happens if the Bears make a push for the playoffs or win a playoff game? What do you think happens to the contract then? It's going to skyrocket in value for Ryan Poles after that. You're going to pay even more money. So why not jump out in front of this, get him at a like a Jalen Johnson team-friendly deal where Jalen should probably be making in the early 20s, not the 18-19 he is making. You saved yourself some money by getting ahead of that. This could be a very similar situation where the Bears thought, this guy could be making a lot more money if we don't make this deal now and extend him now.
There you go.
He's already chirping about that contract, Johnson.
Yeah, what was that? I missed that news report today.
Yeah, that was on, I think it was on 670, or either that or on ESPN 1000. He was on the radio giving an interview, and he was talking about, somebody had mentioned his contract. He's like, he was joking, obviously. It was kind of like
I see discussions in the future.
Yeah, we might have to revisit that one, basically, is what he said, talking about his contract.
Sauce Gardner just got paid.
How much everybody's made after him, all those contracts.
But that's how it works, right? You got leverage when your deal is up. And you're going to become, if you're a really good player in this league, you're going to become the highest paid or one of the highest paid players at your position. But the following season, that's going to change because other players with expiring deals are going to overtake you. So, I have to believe that he was fucking around and not totally serious about it. Now, he has a chance to prove it. One of the most interesting things about the 2025 season is to see how these cornerbacks for the Bears are going to play under this more man-to-man type defense that Dennis Allen likes to run. Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson, they've all been saying in the press conferences, I can't wait. I love this. That's me, man. I can do this. I want to see it. I'm not 100% convinced that Jalen Johnson is going to be a top 5 cornerback after he plays 60-70% of the snaps man-to-man, because I haven't seen it. So I'm going to be a little bit skeptical there. What do you guys think about the change in the defense and what that could do to the 3 cornerbacks, particularly the top 2, Tyreek Stevenson and Jalen Johnson?
See, I can see why you'd be worried about Jalen Johnson in that situation. but I don't think it's for the same reason that you see it. I don't think that Jalen Johnson's necessarily going to get worse. I think that it gives Tyreek Stevenson and Kyler Gordon a chance to show off their skills a little bit. And Jaquan Brisker can play that man-to-man. And so can their linebackers, both TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds, have that man-to-man ability. I mean, Edmonds can match up with the tight end, man. He's 6'8" over the middle there. He can match up with any tight end in this league. He's got the size and speed to do it. All right, so Jalen Johnson might give up some more yardage than he's given up in years past. I mean, what did it take last season? 4 games for him to finally get targeted or something like that? It was ridiculous. But I purely think it's just because in man coverage, it leads for more opportunities for mistakes, right? And you have 2 other corners there, 2 safeties. Well, Bayard's not really a man-to-man kind of guy, but 1 other safety and 2 linebackers that can help pick up the slack in those situations that actually highlights the rest of the defense in such an exciting way that it leads them, to find the weakest point. And that weakest point on any given play could be any given player, but there's going to be a lot of plays where they're all clamped down, I think.
Yeah. So. What do you guys think? Because somebody said, who was this? Muck says that he disagrees with me. He says that JJ played man-to-man really well at Utah. And
yes,
that gives me hope. There's no doubt about it. But I still am a little bit concerned because from what I've seen, when he's played man-to-man with the Chicago Bears, he's been burned a few times. And let's be clear here. In his first season, or was it a second season, he was not playing at a level that anyone would have considered him even a top 10 cornerback because he wasn't getting the turnovers. And then all of a sudden something clicked and he got like 3 or 4 interceptions to conclude the season going into his contract year. And all of a sudden people were starting to consider him a top 10 cornerback. And that's why he got that contract. But prior to that, I don't know if you guys remember, we were all bitching and moaning and complaining about Jalen Johnson. How come he's not getting interceptions? I guess I'm pulling a Zim right now. Judge is one of the best man cornerbacks in the NFL.
I don't know what that means, but I resemble that comment.
I 100% agree with J2K, though. I 100% agree.
You guys.
Look, Aldo, I agree with. I understand a lot of what you're saying, but I do think that Jalen Johnson is maybe the best man coverage corner in the NFL. And agree, the turnovers don't come. But go watch him against guys like Justin Jefferson when he's playing them man coverage. He completely eliminates them from the game. They are non-existent until somebody else is in coverage against them. And I think, the turnovers thing, I've always thought that was kind of like not a really great argument just because nobody's throwing his way. And I've always grown up, that if you don't hear a cornerback's name in a football game, then they're really good. They're doing their job. They're doing a really good job. And I think we kind of, in the media, kind of put too much emphasis on the turnovers for him. Yes, the turnovers are great. And to be fair and honest, that's probably cost him a lot of money in his contract negotiations because teams are wanting the turnovers. That's a big deal. But at the same time, if your top corner isn't even allowing the top receivers, to even catch a single pass in a game, then that's almost as good as getting turnovers because they're being completely eliminated from the game. If you can now, granted, the Bears need to do something about the number 2 receivers because Jordan Addison had an absolute freaking game when Jalen Johnson shut down Justin Jefferson in that Minnesota game last year. But if you're able to, if Tyreek Stevenson plays like we think he's capable of and gets his head out of his butt, then we could be talking about just completely shutting down the passing game. And that could be a massive, massive home run, in my opinion, as far as this defense goes. And we could go from seeing a defense that is top 5, top 10 in the NFL as far as talent to being top 5 in scoring and efficiency and everything, and being a defense that people actually fear and wins you championships. Back to the old days of Bears defenses.
Mm-hmm. Jay, Laz and Jars make good points. Jalen started getting interceptions once the pass rusher arrived in the name of Montez Sweat. And that is huge. And then Jarza had a question earlier. He says in his whole life, he thought that a good defensive end was better than a good defensive tackle. Why do the Bears always prioritize defensive tackle over defensive end the last 2 years? Our pass rush is terrible. Anyone want to take this? I got my opinion on this. I've expressed it many times, but anyone want to jump in first?
Well, I think there's a couple things here. First of all, the way the league has evolved over the last several years, the interior pressure is so important right now in this day and age. You have to be able to disrupt the quarterback's timing right away. And the faster you can get in there, you're going to, you just think about it. It's common sense. You're going to get somewhere faster in a straight line than you will coming from an angle. So if you're right in the middle and you're getting that pressure from the middle before the edge gets there, and now you got that into the exterior pressure as well, that's a great thing to have. But they want to get that pressure from the middle right away to disrupt the quarterback's timing. That's a big part of it. Also, the Bears, the defense that they ran under Matt Eberflus was predicated on that interior pressure from the 3-tech. They really needed that engine for their defense.
Why the fuck didn't they sign a 3-tech?
Right. They never really got it the way they wanted to, because, Dexter is showing signs of being that guy, but he's not quite there yet. Larry Ogunjobi signing was the first one they made. Didn't work out because of medical issues.
Good point.
So, they never really got what they wanted there. That's why they kept trying to address it. But for the most part, it's because it's just an important aspect in today's day and age to get that interior pressure.
Mm-hmm. You basically said what I was going to say, so I won't say anything else. Tim, you got a thought on that you want to share?
I agree with, and I also agree with J2K's point that you do have to have both. But I think one point that Jeff didn't necessarily make, and maybe he did, and I just missed the wording of it, but I think the interior is also so important because it's easier for a quarterback, in my opinion, to escape when the rush is coming from the outside because they can see it. When it's coming right at you, you don't have the time to react and to read the pressure to escape as quickly. And Jeff did make that point, how much quicker the pressure does get there in the middle. And I think that the way, especially that it's not just football, it's how much more athletic we're seeing guys get. When the bigger they are, the more, and how athletic these guys are for their frame and size is absolutely insane. And I think that's part of why we're seeing such an emphasis on interior defensive lines, because of the freak athletes that we have now. We didn't used to have these, like Refrigerator Perry, like that was back in the 80s. They never was almost unheard of. Now it's like every other guy on this roster looks like that. So it's the way the game has evolved, and the way that players have evolved physically have a lot to do with that as well, because you're not used to seeing a guy weigh 350 pounds that can run a 4.8 or a sub 540. It's absolutely unheard of.
A lot of comments in the chat about that mustache, Tim. Some people were wondering, were you drinking chocolate milk before you came onto the show? But no, that's all real man hair, right?
Right. It's real.
Look at that thing. That thing is, you grow it out a little wider, it could be attached to your sideburns.
True.
Handlebar mustache?
Yeah.
That's the curly one. Yeah.
That's the handlebar here. Or no, yeah, you're right.
Oh,
what's the one that Paul Tuttle's got? Paul Senior. What is that? Would that be considered a handlebar?
No.
Or would it be the whiskers?
It's like a Fu Manchu.
Yeah, right.
Fu Manchu is this without this. It's a goatee without the soul patch.
Zim, you ever grow a mustache like that?
I tried once.
Yeah,
I can send you the picture once. Yeah.
Yeah, send us the picture.
Yeah, I got a whole picture of it. I grew out the whole Van Dyke style goatee with the curly Q mustache and the whole goatee, and
it's like a pirate ice.
Yeah, exactly. I can grow it. I don't know that it's the best look for me, but I don't know that this is either. So
yeah, you need. Well, let's take a look at the open that I did for you last year. Introductory video. It's 45 seconds long, and you'll see some of the different looks that Zim has had over the years.
Zimmerman and the hard rock and style. Undiscovered music genius. Zim Zimmerman and the Chicago Bears. Bet on Chicago Bears. Take me to Soldier Field.
So one of those pictures, it appeared like there was ejaculate on your hair. You know, like there's something about Mary, you know.
Yes. Get the jizz in her hair.
Yes. So I'm asking, was that a product that you were using? Some of your own jizz to style that like that?
Not to my knowledge, but I mean,
but then you were so fucked up back then, you know.
I was gonna say, I mean, some of those shows I don't even remember, so who knows?
Those are some great pictures, man. I would have loved to have been in attendance there to see you rocking out.
I paid good money for those pictures, so you know.
Yeah, that's right. You told me about that. And
Jeff, man, I've had my hair every color under the sun, and one of those times I grew a goatee to go with it. So
very cool. Jeff and Tim are big music lovers, guys, as you know. So have you guys ever played in a band situation like Zim has?
Not really.
I fiddled with a band in high school for couple months, never really panned out. No. We had they called it like the Lollapalooza or something like that. We had this it was kind of like a talent show. Like at the end of the school year, it was an outdoor one. It was bands. You put in for you signed up for your band to play or whatever. And a few of my friends, we decided we were going to do this thing, and we made it like a makeshift band.
Yep.
Rehearsed a couple songs beforehand and went and played in this concert. It was like my junior year, and it was all right. It was
literally how it all started for me, man. The exact same thing at my school.
That's pretty cool, man. Yeah.
I love this comment from Cliff. Tim needs to change his name to Dirk Longfellow.
Yes.
or some good porn name like that. That's good stuff. Cliff Victoria in the house. Laz is in the house. Drake T in the house. Guys, I want to change the discussion because rookies are reporting in several hours, about 6-7 hours as we're doing this live on a Friday night. And so I got a graphic here that thebearswire.com produced, and it is where the hell did it go? Here it is. This is the 2025 NFL draft class. Loveland, Burden, Trapillo, Shamar Turner, Ruben Hippolyte II, Zay Frazier, Luke Newman, Kyle Monangai. Those are their draft picks, and they've got some intriguing names that were signed on draft day or right after draft day as undrafted free agents. I wanted to get you guys' opinions on who do you think could be a surprise here, whether it's as a bust, and I doubt we're looking at any bust here, but hopefully not, I should say. Or are you looking at somebody here and saying this guy is absolutely positively going to be a long-time NFL starter and potential star? So start with you first, Jeff. What are your thoughts?
Well, I got a couple of surprises. Okay, so the surprise one, I guess, would be I think Hippolyte is going to turn out to be a quality NFL starter for this team over the course of his career. Maybe not right away as a rookie, but eventually he is going to take over a starting linebacker role, and I think he's going to be a quality piece for this team for a very long time. The other guy I think that is not getting enough love and should get more love is Shamar Turner. I think this dude, he is going to, first of all, he's going to come in right away and be a rotational piece of this defense, and he's going to provide value. So I want to give a quick shout out too, by the way, to if you guys are unfamiliar, there's another YouTube channel called At the NFL Film Room. He's a guy on Bears Twitter. His Twitter handle, if I'm not mistaken, is I'm Bearing Down. And what he does is he's got a YouTube channel that he puts together where he does work his ass off. That's for damn sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He puts a lot of work into getting film put together, and it's mostly been like highlights and just film from games of players in the past to show other people to be able to watch their all 22 film. But what he did in this recent video that I want to mention is he did a breakdown on Shamar Turner and some of his tape from when he was at Texas A&M, and it's really, really good, you guys. If you haven't seen it, I urge you to go check it out because it's, for one, he's actually narrating this and he's giving his thoughts on what he sees here, and he's breaking down the film himself, and it's really good. He's got a really keen eye for exactly what's going on the tape. And if, like I said, you really need to check it out if you haven't already because it's excellent stuff. And what I'm seeing from this guy. So first of all, like Tim will be familiar with this because in week 1 last year, Notre Dame went down to College Station and played in Texas A&M against Shamar Turner and the rest of the Aggies down there. And for a majority of that game, the defensive line for Texas A&M was beating the living piss out of Notre Dame's offensive line. And if you guys aren't familiar with Notre Dame last year, their offensive line ended up being one of the better ones in the nation by the end of the season, and they were kicking ass. So in this game, Billy Schrauth, especially number 74, was getting worked by Shamar Turner. And some of the stuff he was doing in this game, just the run-stopping ability, how strong he is for a guy who converted from defensive end, I think just the way his technique, his strength, like I said, his change of direction is super impressive for a guy his size. I think he's going to be a really nice piece of this defense and a longtime player for this defense. I think him and Jervon Dexter are going to be two guys in the middle of this defense that are going to be a nightmare for opposing offenses for a very long time for the Bears.
Good stuff. Absolutely. All right, Tim, tell me who in this draft class you think is going to make an impact one way or another.
So I actually have 3, 2 that I think are going to have a really good impact, and one that I think we're being a little bit too hyped on, I guess would be the word. So number 1, I think Ozzie Trapillo is going to be a perennial Pro Bowl left tackle. There is just something about this kid. It's the interior makeup and the technique. I think that if he doesn't win the job early in camp, by the end of the year, he is going to be the future and starting left tackle for the next 5 to 10 years for the Chicago Bears. There's just something about the kid. I don't know if it's the uncanny resemblance he has with Jeff and I's cousin Luke. I don't know what it is, but there's something about this kid that I have a feeling that he is really going to, and it's not just a feeling, the kid is impressively talented. Like there's a lot that goes into that. But another player that I think that we're not talking about enough, and probably it's because of an overcrowded room, is Zah Frazier, or Zay Frazier, I think is how he says it, Zay Frazier. But this kid, holy cow, as far as just traits out the window, it's insane the traits this kid has. He's been talked about by the coaches specifically during rookie camp and during OTAs and whatnot. The speed, what is he, a 4.3 speed or a 4.2 speed? I think it's 4.3.
4.2, no. He's like 4.3, 4. I think he's 4.4 guy.
No, I think I'm almost positive he was in the 4.3s. That's why they were so adamant on him. But I think that the reason that he's not talked about is because of how crowded that room is. But this is a kid who, and there was a reason that Bears DB's coach, I can't even think, Al Harris, was pounding the table for this kid. And if he wants this kid, Zay Frazier, that says something to me. And if he wants to work with him, and I'm going to trust that this kid is going to be something special. The one that I kind of want to put a little bit of, I want to maybe pump the brakes on a little bit with everybody. And I think it's not that I don't think he's going to have a great career, because I do, but I think we have way too high of expectations for at this point, and with the comparisons that we've made, is Luther Burden. I think that we all are just expecting him to come in here and immediately be DJ Moore because of how similar they are, body type and style of play. They're both very similar how they played the game in college and in the way DJ's played in the NFL. They are very similar. There's no question about it. And I do, like I said before, I do think he's going to have a good career. But I think we've got him a little bit too high on. There's people talking already about how he's going to be the best wide receiver on the Bears in the next couple of years. And I think we just need to pump the brakes a little bit, because right now this guy's going to be lucky if he's third in targets on this team. We're talking about DJ Moore. We're talking about Rome Odunze, who I think is going to have a crazy ascending season this year. I think he's going to be maybe the best receiver on the Bears this year, and he's going to be one of the better receivers in the NFL. And you're also talking about Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland, who are going to take a lot of targets as well from the tight end position. Not to mention the targets you're going to have for guys out of the backfield. So I do think, like I said before, I think he's going to have a good career, but I think we need to pump the brakes a little bit on our expectations for Burden, because he's going to be lucky to get even a lion's share, I guess you could say, of the targets. I think we'll be lucky to see him get, 80 targets this year. I think that's a very bold statement to make, to say he'll have over that.
I gotta disagree with you, Tim. I am one of those guys that's on the bandwagon for Luther Burden, and I'll tell you why. It's because of Yak. They're gonna throw him that 3, 4, 5 yard screen pass, and if you look at his college tape, what he does so phenomenally well, he runs with the ball in his hands like Devin Hester, like Gale Sayers. Now that's hyperbole. He has to prove it, but he has that capability, I believe, to be one of those guys who could catch just 40, 50 passes this year, but have 800, 900 yards in receiving because of what he's going to do with the ball in his hand. And yes, this offense is tremendously stacked. You're right. He might not get enough targets to really prove that he's a superstar, but I think that the fact that you've got 2 tight ends in Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet, and 2 receivers in Odunze and DJ Moore, who should be freaking phenomenal. Those guys should be phenomenal. I think that's going to help Luther Burden come in there and just make big plays. This offense could be scoring points very similarly to what the Detroit Lions have done in the last 2 years with Ben Johnson. It really, really has a lot to do with how quickly can Caleb get up to speed, and how good can this offensive line be? Is Joe Tooney on the downside of his career? Is Jonah Jackson going to play more like the bad LA Ram guard that he was in the limited time? Because I know he was burdened by injuries. Can Drew Dahlman really play to the same capabilities we saw him play at Atlanta that made him a top 5, top 10 center in this league? And of course, the tackles. Darnell Wright, promising guy, but he still hasn't put everything together to be a Pro Bowl type tackle. And of course, we all know the story at left tackle. It depends on Caleb and the offensive line, because the weapons are there, man. And those weapons, all they need is the ball. Give them the ball behind the line of scrimmage, just in front of the line of scrimmage, or deep, and those guys are going to make plays. Anyone want to argue with that point?
I just want to say one thing about Burden, and then I'll let you guys say whatever you wanted to say. I just think I tend to agree more with you, Aldo, than I do Tim, but I also agree 100% with what Scroll said in the chat. I think it's more about the reps than it is about the talent and the ability, because I do think he's a guy who's got immense ability to be a productive player. And I think the Bears are going to hand him a lot like the Lions did with Jameson Williams over the first couple years of his career. He's going to get touches. He's going to get looks. He's going to be productive, but I don't know that he's going to be an every down player right away, because they want to ease him in and make sure he's getting that production right away and make sure he's getting comfortable in the offense as well. Plus, like Tim said, there's so many mouths to feed. He's not the only guy there. So they're not just going to be able to force feed him the ball all the time. But yes, Aldo, that ability, that Yak ability to create from the short pass situation, which is what Ben Johnson does so well, they're going to use him to do that. Absolutely. In year one, he's going to be very productive doing so. And then real quick, before you guys continue, I almost forgot to mention this earlier. I was talking about Shamar Turner and Notre Dame when he played against Notre Dame. J2K, by the way, who's in the chat, just put out a really good film breakdown about Notre Dame players who are going to be in the draft next year. And it's excellent. You guys got to go check that out. Go look at it. It's just clips of some highlights from players from Notre Dame who are going into the draft. And Jeremiah Love's one that comes to mind that's going to be a guy everybody wants the Bears to draft. So,
oh, yeah.
Well, the Bears are going to draft him. Haven't you seen every way too early mock draft already? Right. It doesn't matter if they're drafting 5th or 25th. He's going to be the guy.
They better. I don't care if you got to take him number 1 overall. You better go get him.
I would love to see Jeremiah Love on this team.
Absolutely.
Real quick, before we go to the other two, I just want to point out that I wasn't taking anything away. The talent is absolutely off the charts. I meant it more from a touches standpoint and a production standpoint early on, not a talent. Definitely the talent is off the charts, and I 100% agree. He is like another DJ Moore. If we can get that production out of him, I will gladly eat my words on it. I just wanted to clear that up.
You want ketchup on that? When you eat your words, you want some ketchup?
Yes, I'll put whatever you want on it if that's what it takes.
Don't ask Tooch that. Tooch, people are dying to hear your opinion on the topic about Luther Burden. Share your wise thoughts.
Well, there's a lot to unpack here. Luther Burden missed a lot when he had the soft tissue injuries. That's a little concerning for me. In fact, the whole contract situation, I'm relieved that it worked out. Bears were not going to mess around. They just were going to give him a fully guaranteed contract. And again, this goes back to the Poles extension as well. There was no real downside to giving Poles the extension. Now, the more that I think about it, what are they going to do? Go out and hire somebody else at this point? You can't. It's a win-win basically. The team, everyone's united behind Poles, Johnson, Caleb Williams. So it was a little bit of a win-win in that situation. Now, Burden, we kind of with these second round contract had kind of thought, well, he's a guy that's probably might be the most likely to hold out. With the feeling he was passed over in the draft, falling into the second round when preseason projections had him as a top 5 pick in the entire NFL.
That's right.
So, how fast he can get up to speed and how well recovered he is of those soft tissue injuries will determine, how far he goes this season. In fact, how many I forget which brother said it's a matter of touches, and that's largely true because he is competing with Olamide Zaccheaus, Devin Duvernay, and those players, and they're NFL veterans. So he wouldn't have been my first choice in this little poll of which draft pick might turn out to be the biggest contributor. In my opinion, I think it's got to be Colston Loveland because he's a guy that I think has the potential to be a Travis Kelce-like impact. You think of the Chiefs and how are they able to stay on top of the AFC West for so long? And it's players like Mahomes and Kelce always, the guy got open all the time. I see a lot of that with Colston Loveland. He knows how to get open. And if Colston Loveland is a guy that can consistently get open in the NFL, I think he's going to have the biggest impact for this team, moving the chains, making big plays in the red zone. If he's a player like these top tight ends, then I think that's going to go a long way to determine the success of this offense.
He's a freaking cowboy.
I love it. Greg likes him. He's a freaking cowboy.
Yeah, I really like him. I like his ability to shake and get open. His route running ability it's special for a tight end for someone that size. I think Bears fans will be really satisfied with this pick, even though, number 10 overall, we took a tight end. Wow. It's like, wasn't expecting that, were we? But going back to the Poles thing, Poles twice passed on the defensive rookie of the year, Jalen Carter and Jared Verse. He could have had both of them. Remember, he traded out of the spot with the Eagles, so Jalen Carter could be selected. And that gives fans pause as to why do we give this guy, hindsight is 20/20. And then the Jared Verse thing, I think he could have traded back, maybe taken Jared Verse and then gotten maybe a pick in the second round to take a receiver.
Well, sorry to cut you off, Tooch, but to be fair to Poles there were people within the Rams' own front office during that draft that didn't want Jared Verse draft. Sean McVay was pissed when they took Jared Verse that year in the draft, if you guys remember seeing that.
The barroom was pretty high on him, Aldo and I.
I liked him too. I'm just saying that's their own draft room wasn't all that great about it at first.
Yeah, and I mean there's plenty of things. The main thing is, look, on paper, the moves that Poles make look good on paper. We're looking back to Poles before any of these offensive line signings were made. There was talk about, Trey Smith of the Chiefs, he's going to be a free agent. Do we go out and get him? Well, as soon as the Chiefs re-signed, or as soon as they locked up Trey Smith, what did Ryan Poles do? Went out and traded for Joe Thuney, and then extended him. I mean, those are two pretty good moves. You got the top center in free agency, and then he took a chance on seeing what could happen with Jonah Jackson, maybe returning to a former high ceiling of play. But those are moves that we have to commend Ryan Poles for.
Hey, somebody in the chat room wants to see your tits. There you go. Come on, show us your tits. Show us your tits.
I knew this image was coming. I knew that was
Hey, just for the record, you're all making fun of my porn star mustache. He was actually in porn. So.
That's right. 70s and 80s porn, that golden era.
Yeah, I want to go. It's real quick before I forget about this.
Go ahead.
Last week we had talked about, I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears go after a defensive a pass rush, some pass rush.
Yeah.
And I got to thinking, when was the last time the Bears drafted a good edge pass rusher? It's been a long time, man. We've had to go
edge pass rusher.
Yeah, edge rusher, defensive end. That kind
pass
of
rusher
player
would probably be Tank Johnson.
We've drafted.
I mean, like a defensive end edge.
Defensive
player.
end, yeah.
When was the last time?
Who's the
Leonard
guy
Floyd, but he wasn't a great edge rusher here.
No,
I
wouldn't
He
consider
didn't rush the passer that well.
Yeah, we've had to
more of a
trade
linebacker.
for pass rush. We've had to trade
Mark Anderson,
Khalil Mack, Mark Montez Sweat, Julius Peppers going back. I mean, we have
Mark Anderson.
Mark Anderson, maybe the last one,
For a flash in the pan, yeah.
It is time. It would have been nice to have gotten a Jared Verse, but that's in the past. Maybe we'll see Poles address this in the future. However, I had to say I wouldn't be surprised to see the Bears try their luck with one of these guys, maybe Zadarius Smith or Matt Judon. Matt Judon had some legal problem, I think, recently, and then recently Von Miller was locked up. I forget who signed Miller. He signed today with the team.
Washington.
Was it the Redskins? So Redskins making a move, man.
It was not the Redskins. It was the Commanders.
Was it the Commanders? Commanders. Yeah, sorry. Whatever, same thing.
I'm sorry. I got.
I saw this today. It was like someone had posted this. They saw Ryan Poles at the table next to him in the restaurant, and the kid asked him, what any other moves coming up. He said, "Watch the edge rusher there."
Oh, so, I totally believe that. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, to me, signing pass rush would go a long way on this team. I think that would be a move that the Bears would benefit from. I said it last week. If they could lock up Zadarius Smith on maybe a 2-year, it's really a 1 year, but 16 to 20 million for 2 years. Again, another win-win situation. It comes in to be a situational pass rusher. And the Bears get some needed pass rush on third down.
Very cool. By the way, Razzle Dazzle is not happy with the fact that we're making predictions about how players are going to play and so forth. But I think, Razzle, this is part of being a fan. You talk about possibilities. I mean, I got to tell you, I have been following the Chicago Bears since the 1960s, and many times I would go to bed and to go to sleep, I would predict what the amount of touchdown passes that Rex Grossman was gonna throw, the yards and touchdowns for Walter Payton and so forth. It's part of being a fandom, is to make predictions, and we all want our players to do well, and we all want to hopefully predict that they are going to break records and do stunning things. If Razzle, again, I will, like I said in the chat, if you've got some other topics you'd love for us to address, I would love to hear them, and hopefully we will get to that in the show. There's one other topic here that Steven Zimmerman wants to present, and that is, a dark horse rookie player? Tell us who.
Well, this whole conversation kicked off with who's going to be the most impactful rookie, and what if I told you it's somebody they didn't draft at all? And the reason for it being somewhat back to what we had discussed before, there's only so many. There's only one ball to go around, right? There's only so many touches and carries these guys can get. And on the defensive side, none of these guys are truly ready to contribute right away, right? So what if I told you that I think the Bears' most important rookie this season, their rookie who contributes the most, is number 43, Luke Elkin. Can anybody tell me what position he plays? I hear crickets. He is the long snapper from Iowa. What if your long snapper was your rookie who contributes the most? All right. Look, all I'm saying is if he makes this roster, and I know it's a little bit of a long shot, but he's got a good rapport with your punter that you spent a 4th round pick on in Torrey Taylor. Very good rapport with. And in his exact words, if you don't know who I am, then it's probably a good thing. All right. All I'm saying, he's gonna get
going with a long snapper.
The long snapper's my long shot, man. All I'm saying is, I don't think it's. I'm sorry. I don't think it's out of the question. I don't think it's something.
That's me after your long snapper prediction.
Did you guys see that video? The source of it, Jeff. You look like a little perplexed.
I've never seen it.
Oh, Nick Tarnowski on the golf course.
Yes,
his ass beat.
That guy who was doing the bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
Former hockey player who was an enforcer. Well, they're playing golf, and the group in front of them are playing so slow, and they catch up to them, and they find out that they're all fucked up. They've been drinking. And they're totally drunk. And then one of the guys has the audacity to talk shit to that hockey player. And the hockey player pushes them. The guy rolls down into the pond and then gets back up and wants to fight with. And then that guy just brilliantly, bam! He's announcing it. Bang,
bang, bang, bang.
That's just beautiful. I love it.
Can we see that clip again? It's always nice to see somebody getting a good ass whooping who earns it.
Yes, I agree.
Bang! Bang! Come on, man. Bang! How to get in there?
And he said, come on, man. Shit, dude. Brought it to himself.
That's right. Stop drinking. Get your ass off the golf course. And
that guy took 20 minutes to tee up his ball. Tarnowski was pissed off. He's like, let us play through, you know?
That's hilarious.
Zim, I apologize for the interruption. So you think the long snapper is going to make a big impact this season? Huh?
Yeah, and he was a 4-year letterman in hockey in high school. So, you know, that's got to be worth something. It all ties together. There you go. 4-year letterman in hockey, baseball, and football.
Hey, by the way, videos that went viral. That was one. That was early in the weekend. Did you guys see the Coldplay video?
Oh my God!
Yes.
Did you see the statement the guy put out there?
Yeah, I saw that too.
The statement that basically
his
said,
wife was
"I'm
way
sorry."
hotter than that chick.
He puts out this statement that says, "I'm sorry, and I shouldn't have done it, but also it's not my fault. Why would you put me on the jumbotron?"
Because it's a fucking kiss cam.
Fucking Coldplay. It's their fault.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, for people who don't know that at a Coldplay concert, they had the kiss cam on, and they went to this couple, and we learned later he had his arms around her. He was standing behind her, and we learned later that he's a married CEO of a tech company, and he was hugging the HR director. They tell you not to have relationships with your boss, and so he just caught a lot of shit.
Fucking moron. Bang! Bang! Come on, man. Bang! How to get in there?
That's
I don't know if you saw this.
The CEO.
I was just scrolling through my Twitter feed, and somebody actually made a game where it's called like Coldplay, like hide and find or something like that. Like you scan the crowd at a Coldplay concert, and you win the game by finding the CEO 10 times.
That's good.
They incriminated themselves too. Like all they had to do is just stand there and make it look natural, like just maybe like hug or dance or something. But no, and then turn and run like that. It was the most obvious. And the part that made me laugh the most, like you mentioned his statement, Zim. But the worst part was he didn't apologize for the act. He apologized that he got caught. It's like, are you kidding me? You're not even going to apologize to your wife that you were doing this or to your family. You apologize that they got embarrassed by it, not that you did the act. It's insane.
Yep. That right there is the epitome of fuck around, find out. Right there. Fuck around, find out.
For sure.
Yeah, I'll tell you. All right, I got another football topic I love to get to.
Oh God, is that what this show's about?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Am I the only one around here who gives a shit about the rules?
The rules are we talk about football.
Can I just say how excited I am that like training camp starts tomorrow? So there's no more conjecture. There's no more bullshit. We're talking about an actual tangible thing that's happening in front of us.
We'll fucking make Razzle real happy, I'm sure. All right. So this is my list of the top 10 Bears. This was kind of inspired by Courtney Cronin was on ESPN radio, and she gave a list of her top 10. I actually did not see her list because I just didn't have time, but I remembered the idea, and I wanted to put my list, and I put this up on Twitter or X a few days ago. I want to share this with you guys and get your thoughts. To me, in order for this season to be successful, these are the top 10 guys. And it's fluid, of course. But obviously, Caleb Williams. And beyond that, it's not in any sequential order. It's just haphazard. DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, I really do believe these guys are going to have, they should each have either 1,000 yards pass receiving or close to it. And then Joe Thuney and Drew Dahlman, the interior of this offensive line has been a problem. These guys are proven players. Hopefully, my biggest fear and Tuch will attest to this, is sometimes we sign these veterans and then they arrive to Chicago and all of a sudden their balls fall off and they don't play nearly as well as they should. And then Montez Sweat, he needs this bounce back season. He's got now interior pass pressure that should help him a lot. He's got to get double-digit sacks for this team, just like he did in the season that when he was acquired from the Washington Commanders and played half the season with Commanders, half with the Bears. Gervon Dexter, this should be the breakout year for this interior defensive lineman. This is going to help open the door for Montez Sweat and Dale to get pressure on the quarterback. Gervon Dexter is the guy. And then, of course, the three stellar defensive backs, Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker. These guys have a good season. We're talking about half dozen interceptions perhaps for each of them. Big play after big play. So I want to know from you, where did I get it wrong? Who did I leave out that you would add? Love for some discussion on this topic. Zim, we haven't heard from you in a while. What do you got?
Somebody you left out that is critical to this team's success this year.
Okay.
DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
He has to be in this top 10 somewhere, because if he doesn't succeed, this offense doesn't succeed. And it's so integral that he is a contributor, and not just a contributor, but like a substantial contributor, because he's the running back. He's the guy. Like, yeah, we all like Roshan Johnson, but he's never shown he can be the guy. Yeah, we all like Kyle Monangai, but he's an undersized 7th round rookie. Like, there's so much more pressure, and we've been talking about it all off season. I find it kind of strange that he didn't make your list, because he is so important to the success of this team this year. Other than that, I really agree with these guys. I saw a lot of comments about tight ends in the chat room. I would argue that Cole Kmet should be in there, because as much as like it's important for Colston Loveland to be successful, he can't be successful if Cole Kmet's not successful. So I would almost leave Jalen Johnson off this list, because the expectation is for him to be successful, right? He's he's the guy on that defense that you just expect to be right here and no lower throughout the season. You know what I mean? Like on your scale of 1 to 10, you expect him to be an 8, 8.5 at his worst, you know? So you almost leave him off a list like this just because, like, again, that's the expectation. Joe Thuney, I feel like, can also be kind of put in that category. So if I have to revise your list there, I would probably take off Joe Thuney, take off Jalen Johnson, and add Cole Kmet and DeAndre Swift.
Okay. And a lot of people are saying instead of Cole Kmet, it should be Loveland. Anybody agree with having Loveland on this list? Jeff, Tim, Tooch?
I don't necessarily disagree with having those guys on it, but I do think Joe Thuney still needs to be on it because I think if he's not he's a big part of this offense's success. If he's not there and providing the stability that he's known to provide and the great offensive line play he's known to provide, this offense ain't going to be as good. It's just all there is to it. He's going to be a huge part of the ability to have success of this offense, is providing he stays healthy and he's able to, like I said, have the same quality play that he's had throughout the course of his career. So I think he's still in this list. He has to be, in my opinion. But I don't disagree with the others. The one pushback I would say is I don't necessarily disagree with Zim about Swift being on the list either. I do think it's got to be a running back one way or the other. I don't know that we're going to see Kyle Monangai come out and be like the lead back or anything like that. But I will say this, it wouldn't necessarily surprise me either that eventually he does take over that role, because he kind of reminds me a little bit of, like, and Tim will appreciate this being a Notre Dame fan, kind of reminds me of Kyron Williams a little bit. Late round draft pick, really bad, not good measurables, a guy that went late because he didn't have the kind of speed you're looking for, the kind of 3-cone time you're looking for. But he's just a productive football player and had a good career in college, you know. Guy never fumbled ever, great pass protector. He's going to be trusted on third down. I would not be one bit surprised to see that guy carve himself out a serious niche and be an integral part of this offense going forward. Wouldn't surprise me at all. But I do agree with you, Zim. It's going to be a running back one way or another is going to be a big part of this offense. Maybe more than one running back.
You know, and I don't disagree with you. My only thing is, when it comes to late round backs, I see your Kyron Williams and I raise you Garrett Wolf. Well, you know, yeah. Like super productive in college, reliable, somebody who came in and he had all the tools. He was just undersized. He was just a half tick slow, and like it just didn't translate, you know.
Well, and maybe school had something to do with that too.
Well, I mean, yeah, he did go to Northern Illinois, not, you know, an actual competitive school. So I mean, I see exactly what you're saying with all that. My main point is just that these late round running backs tend to fizzle out faster than just about any other position out there, and it's why, like, I'm hesitant. Me personally, it's not that I disagree with your opinion at all on this. I think he's actually somebody who's worth looking at, who's worth keeping an eye on throughout the season to see if he can truly contribute the way that Bears fans, I think, expect him to, in the way that, especially in our chat room, we're talking about guys, this draft class being a potential all-timer for the Bears. But I also think part of that's just off-season hype, you know, like how much of that truly is going to translate. And understandably so, Kyle Monangai is probably the first guy to disappoint out of this class, aside from maybe Zay Frazier, if there's two guys that, like, you can pinpoint right off the top. And at the same time, you know, he's probably a 3rd or 4th round pick in most other drafts, so maybe there's a lot to be had there. You know, he's a true wild card to me, so I appreciate the pick, but personally, that's why I leave him off my list, is because he is such a wild card.
That's kind of what I was going to say, too. And I want to hear what you have to say about it, Tooch. But the one thing I was going to add was, you know, you mentioned Zim, the late round running backs, they do have a tendency to fizzle out. But at the same time, running back is the one position you tend to get the most value out of those late round picks as well. Those are the guys, that's the position you hit on the most with those late round picks.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
I do think that, and I agree with you, and this draft was so deep with running back talent that he happened to slide. Kyron Williams had some injury issues in college too. I think that's part of the reason why he went 6th round also, outside of his testing. But yeah, that, you know, he slid for whatever reason. I think he's got a chance. That's all I was really trying to say, is I do think he's got a good chance. What do you got, Tooch?
Monangai, I mean, he could play. I mean, DeAndre Swift's injury history, I mean, last year he was relatively healthy for the Bears, but has missed time in the past. So, I mean, it's entirely possible that Monangai, you know, gets a lot of playing time. Running back is the one of the positions I, you know, feel that the Bears are a little undermanned. I think Roschon Johnson hasn't shown much. Bears, I think, missed out on a few running backs in the draft. They arguably were hot for Travion Henderson, and with good reason. I mean, imagine Travion Henderson on this team.
That's the guy I wanted. It's the guy I wanted.
Funny. I like Quinshawn Judkins more, and don't listen to my draft advice. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, they had little domestic problems. But yeah, Monangai as a guy, I agree with DeAndre Swift. He's got to, touch the ball quite a bit. I wouldn't take Jalen Johnson off it. He's going to lock up with the number one receiver every game. He's got to play well. I know you're saying, well, he's expected to play well, but this defense you're going to get with Dennis Allen, mix of front four, a lot of different looks from the front four, and then he's going to play man on the edge behind that, and they're going to blitz with their linebackers and safeties. So I think maybe that's hard to say. I would like to put another pass rusher on the list, but I think that would go a long way to the team's success. Allen, they blitz at a high rate. I think over the years, fifth most in the NFL. 55% of all dropbacks they blitzed. So if they could get pressure from the front four, he didn't have a lot of that when he was in New Orleans. If they could get pressure with the front four, I think it would alleviate some of the pressure on the pass rush. That's about it, though. I think we might be discounting Jonah Jackson, though. That's one guy that is not expected to maybe play well that really has to.
Yeah.
And then we're ignoring a left tackle position as well, which is arguably one of the most important positions on the team.
That's where all eyes are going to be through camp for sure.
All eyes are going to. You took the words out of my mouth, man. I like Ozzie Trapillo. I think that kid, man, he's very cerebral.
Yes,
he talks like a coach. I think he's a really smart player. I think if he plays half as well as he talks, I think the Bears will be in good shape. I know they're hot for Braxton Jones to get back there, and he's okay. He's serviceable, but in the long run, I think you might find that Ozzie Trapillo might be playing left tackle for the Bears for a long time.
Yeah, I think he very well could. I agree with you, Tooch. I think
really like the kid.
He's an impressive guy. He really is. He's got that deep voice, that you get out of those guys that are just big and strong, like that. And it's, he's just a kid still. He's still going to grow and become a man yet in this league.
He's so confident too.
Wait to see what he's going to be like when he gets into that grown man strength and he's able to really lock in and become a player in this league. He's an exciting kid to look forward to for sure. Absolutely.
Well, and you can hear the intelligence in his voice when he's speaking, his football knowledge. Whereas, like, if you guys remember, I'm sure you do vividly, whenever Mitchell Trubisky was at the podium and he was being asked a football question, he could never explain anything in football terms at all. Totally lost most of the time, it seemed like. Mm-hmm. And it's listening to kids like this, where he's young, but that Boston college education's coming through. And you just know that his football acumen is probably second to none amongst the offensive linemen in that room, outside of like Joe Tooney, who's been there forever. But he's going to have that, especially for the rookies. He's going to have that football knowledge, and that could certainly be a leg up for him. By the way, it's a very, very smart offensive line. We got Karan Amagaji out of Yale, and you've got Ozzie out of Boston College. I mean, that's a smart, very intelligent left tackle room in general.
There's that video of the day they drafted Ozzie, and Poe speaks to him and hands the phone over to Ben Johnson, and Ben Johnson is like telling him, what he is, and he says, big, strong, smart. I mean, I'm telling you, it was just such a classic moment of how he teed up. 10 years from now, when we're looking back at Ozzie's great NFL career, that little piece of video is going to be used because it was Ben Johnson basically prognosticating that this kid's going to be really special.
I love it.
I love you.
They all have that Boston College connection. I mean, Ben Johnson was an assistant on the coaching staff, and Ryan Poles was a player there.
And Ozzy, that's
Ozzy's
true.
dad played there with Ryan Poles.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else want to comment on the top 10 guys? I'm not sure Tim had a chance to criticize the list or compliment it.
I wouldn't criticize it. I would probably take Jaquan Brisker out and put one of those other guys that they mentioned earlier, like either DeAndre Swift or I'm drawing one of the tight ends, which in my opinion would probably be Cole Kmet more so than it would be Colston Loveland at this point. But
so let me ask. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I think you can get away with those other safeties where if some of these other guys, but like if I said it last year, like everybody talked about if players go out, what would be, in my opinion, it was Montez Sweat. If he went out, we were in big trouble. And we were defensively last year because he wasn't healthy at all last season. We couldn't generate any pass rush without him there. So I think it's a kind of a similar situation here. We haven't seen much of Jaquan Brisker on the field. So if he is hurt, it's not going to tamper the defense as much as if some of these other players were out. And that's where I look at it. Like the value isn't there like it would be for instance, one of those other guys like they were mentioned. Like DeAndre Swift gets hurt, they're in big trouble.
My thing about Brisker, the reason I had on the list is when he is healthy and he is at his best, he is a game changer. He can get your turnovers. He can knock your helmet off. He just is that special. And hearing him talk in the preseason has really excited me because he's got a fucking chip on his shoulder, and that chip is about the size of Tucci's ass. I mean, it is fucking huge. So I just feel like I put him on that list primarily because I'm kind of psyched up about this Bears defensive backfield and what they can become. And if they get a modicum of pass rush that's better than last season, we're going to see them do some tremendous things. I asked a question in the chat. I want to ask it to you guys. Who is going to have more receptions / touchdowns on those two tight ends, Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland? Jeff, you go first.
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of that question.
Who is going to have the most touchdowns or receptions out of the tight end position, Cole Kmet or Colston Loveland?
I think Kmet will have more touchdowns. I think Loveland will have more receptions. And I think they're going to be I think they're both going to be utilized in this offense. A lot of people, look, I understand the reasoning behind people thinking Kmet's got 1 foot out the door because you draft a guy in the first round who plays, quote unquote, the same position, which it's really not. But at the same time, it's like we forget sometimes that there are a lot of teams that find a way to use 12 personnel really well. Ben Johnson likes to use 12 personnel. He did it in Detroit. And not to mention, we are almost forgetting, it wasn't even a decade ago that the Patriots were destroying defenses with Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez. It's like, can we do that possibly with the Bears? I'm not going to say that these guys are that or are going to be that, but like, you don't just say, let's move on from Kmet just because you brought in another tight end, especially if they're working well together, especially if they're complementing each other well. So I do think they're both going to get touches. And I think, like I said, I think Kmet has more touchdowns, especially in like the red zone area being a target and for first downs as well. Like I think he's going to be a third down target. But yes, Loveland's going to have more catches, I think, just because he's going to be they'll scheme him a lot of touches.
Tim, I saw you agreeing with your brother on that.
Shockingly, I 100% agree with him. And I think Cole Kmet is definitely the bigger red zone target because he's a big body. He's going to come, especially those the routes where he comes out of the flat. You're going to see a lot of that with tight ends when they're at the goal line. You're just going to see that. And Cole Kmet's typically going to be that guy because he can either chip block and go, or he can be the blocker in that situation. And they're going to make things, like he said before, Ben Johnson, they're going to make things look different. Things look the same and the same things look different. That's what they're going to do. And I can see a lot of that happening. But I also agree that Loveland will probably get more touches just because he's he's more of a receiving target than Cole Kmet is. Not to take anything away from Cole Kmet, because Cole Kmet's done a really good job of playing that move and that wide tight end role in his time with the Bears so far. I think he's very underrated as a pass catcher and as a route runner. And he's really, you can tell, worked on his route running and his speed the last couple of years. Like, you've seen a little more boost out of him than what we've seen in the past. But I do think that he's a little bit underrated in that regard, and I don't want to write off Cole Kmet, especially now, just because we have Colston Loveland, who's coming in as the 10th overall pick. I don't think that's fair to Cole. I don't think they're trying to work him out of the offense by any stretch. I think they want a best available player, and they really like Colston Loveland, and they think that he can bring another element to this offense. And Ben Johnson, with his first pick as a head coach, of course is going to want an offensive guy first. And like Jeff said, he loves that 12 personnel. The difference between Detroit and Chicago, though, is Detroit didn't have that inline blocking tight end that had the receiving capabilities that Cole Kmet does. So now you brought those two guys together here in Chicago. Now you can see why he was so excited to have these guys together. I think those tight ends are going to play a bigger role than what we even think they are at this point in this junction in time.
I still want to get everybody's thoughts on who's going to have more, but since we got some Lions fans here, I also want to talk about how much better the Bears tight end room is than the Lions. Yes, the Lions have a Pro Bowl caliber player. Without a doubt, I wanted the Bears to draft him. Sam Laporta, he's outstanding. But the second tight end on their depth chart is a guy who probably wears his own porn mustache named what the fuck is his name? Brock Wright. That sounds like a porn name, right? He probably has his own. So I don't know why these Lions guys are talking so much shit in the chat. The Bears tight end group is going to kick ass over this Lions group. Anyway, Jeff, I see you that $1 million smirk. I know you want to get into some trash talking with these Lions guys.
Can I point out one fact real quick?
Sure thing.
Is there really that big of a jump, especially statistically, between Cole Kmet and Detroit? Now I can't think of his name. You just said it.
Sam Laporta.
Sam Laporta. Is there really that big of a jump between the two statistically? I don't think it is that massive of a gap. I'm not so sure that he's like light years better than Cole Kmet. So if you're talking about that, like, then
if you're talking about his ability as a pure receiving threat, his twitchiness, his route running ability, his just as a pure pass catching receiver, he is better than Cole Kmet, absolutely, to this point in his career. There's no denying that. And really, at this point in their careers, he's just a better overall player. That being said, obviously this is speculation, but you don't draft a guy 10th overall unless you have high hopes for him and high expectations for him. The Bears tight end room absolutely has the potential to be better than what the Lions have right now. Again, it's a wait and see thing, but Ben Johnson was brought here for a reason. He was part of the process of drafting Colston Loveland in the first round for a reason. He wants to use him. So we'll see what happens. King Bookworld thinks Laporta is a little overrated. I do think, he was utilized under Ben Johnson really well, and that could have been part of it. We'll see what he does now with Detroit with Johnson gone, but he is still a good player. And to this point, he has been a better overall player than Kmet. But I agree, yes, Aldo, they have a better potential to be the better overall room. We'll just have to wait and see how things go over there.
Yeah. All right, who's going to catch more passes, Loveland or Cole Kmet? Come on, Tooch, jump in.
Loveland, I think.
Tell me why.
He's just a better pass catcher. He'll be schemed out to get touches.
I hope so. I hope that he's practicing tomorrow or ready to practice tomorrow when he shows up, and they can work him into this offense right away. Zim, you've got that kind of I'm getting fucking tired. When's the show going to be over? Look on your face.
It's been a long day, man. I worked a 12-hour day before this. So
a 12-hour day?
Damn. Yeah. I had a 13-and-a-half-hour day, Zim. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, you're feeling it. You're feeling it.
Yeah.
No, I think it's gonna be Komet, but it's not for lack of trying. I simply think that he's already got the chemistry with Caleb Williams. They're going into a new system. What's a young QB's favorite weapon? A good tight end. And who's the best tight end on the team right now? Cole Kmet. So
He's been
I think
a security blanket. Yeah,
exactly.
Sure.
I think Cole Kmet's probably the security blanket for like the first 6-7 games of the season. And then once the whole thing gets rolling, I think maybe from that point forward, Colston Loveland might like be more productive overall. But at the same time, there's only one ball to go around. And if this offense really gets rolling the way that we think it all can, Colston Loveland might get equal targets to Cole Kmet throughout that time period, or only slightly more over the overall time period of those last 10 games or so. Right. So my overall thinking is not that either one of them will be disappointing by any means, that one is going to significantly outproduce the other one. It's simply that when you look at this contextually, right? When you stop looking in the vacuum and you start applying the context of last season and the reasoning behind, how these guys are going to feel and think and act with each other, Cole Kmet was very reliable when Caleb Williams needed him last year. So Caleb Williams is going to lean on that for sure, especially in a new system. Your top two receivers for probably the first, again, 6-7 games of the season are going to be DJ Moore and Cole Kmet, almost assuredly. And from there is when we start seeing Luther Burden, Rome Odunze. Maybe Rome gets involved a little earlier this year than he did last year. We're talking weeks 3-4 rather than 6-7. But overall, I just think that DJ Moore, Cole Kmet are going to get the lion's share of the touches for that first chunk of the season. And then we start seeing the ball get distributed a little more evenly. And maybe next year is where we start really seeing this Ben Johnson offense, click and run at full steam. If everything goes according to plan, by the end of the season, we're seeing this happening. By the time the playoffs roll around, maybe the Bears are really rolling. They're involved in the playoffs. This offense is moving and chugging. Maybe they get hot at the right time and make that playoff push. But overall, I just think that I'm not expecting a ton this year. And because of that is why I expect those handicaps to happen early in the season that allow Kmet to gain higher statistics, while he might not necessarily be the bigger contributor. You know what I mean?
I want to make 2 points here real quick. Number one, Cole Kmet has a lot to prove to me this year. To me, I disagree with you, Zim. He was not that much. He could have been more of an insurance blanket to Caleb Williams. I remember that 2-point conversion that he dropped in the end zone.
That was brutal.
That was rough.
I remember other mistakes. And
I also remember 3 games where his own offensive coordinator schemed him out of the game. So.
Yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I think that is what led to his disillusionment with his role and with the Chicago Bears. There were a lot of players who started to tune out in the middle of that 10-game losing streak. Yeah. And unfortunately, and I've gone on this diatribe before on the Barroom Network, you can't have team leaders who are going to quit on you because shit is going bad. And that happened with DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, and on and on. And that shit just fucking pisses me off because I know in my heart of hearts that if I'm being paid that kind of money, I am going to go down to my fucking last breath, fighting for my team, fighting to play well, fighting, to trying to get everybody hyped up to play at a high level. That's the job of an athlete, is to never give up. And yet, and I have to admit it, because I say that about fans too. You should never give up. Last year was the first time in a long fucking time where we would get to the third quarter, and I'm giving up. I can't even yell at the people on Twitter and X who are talking shit about my Bears. I can't, because I agree with them. They fucking suck. And the other thing that I just wanted to point out is DJ Moore is another guy. I mean, do you remember that win in Green Bay? Fucking DJ Moore fumbles the ball with less than 2 minutes left.
I thought it was game over.
It allows the Packers to move the ball downfield and kick the leading field goal. They were ready to lose to the Packers again. Why? Because of DJ Moore. DJ Moore, and we know the other shit, the body language, walking off the field and stuff. DJ Moore has a lot to fucking prove to me. And so I say those two players because those are two of our captains, two of our team leaders, two outstanding players, and they need to bounce back in a huge fucking way for me to feel good about this season. I know I would shut everybody up with that one.
No, I mean, I agree with you. I just think that I see a lot of people in the chat talking about Rome here. I think Rome is going to be a huge part of this. And look, these guys were drafted. Caleb and Rome were drafted 1 and 9 together, the same class, both in the first round. They spend a lot of time around each other in the pre-draft process. They're close. They spend time together training. He's going to be a big part of this here. He could very well be the team's leading receiver, whether it be yards, catches, touchdowns, maybe all the above. He's going to lead the team in some kind of statistical category, I believe, if not multiple categories, because as I said, he's got the rapport already with Caleb, and it's only going to build. I mean, these guys are you don't draft a guy 9th overall unless you expect him to be your guy at some point. It's just the way it is.
And we were talking earlier about Ryan Pohl's mistakes. I truly believe one of the big mistakes he made last year was signing Keenan Allen to a contract, worth $16, $18 million, where he could have used that money for an offensive lineman. And it hit that motherfucker is an offensive lineman. We were promised that he knew the value of offensive linemen. So what's the first thing he does for his number 1 draft pick, a quarterback? He gets a fucking wide receiver instead of an offensive lineman.
He got him a safety blanket. Like,
come on. I can find you a safety blanket for $3 million.
I completely agree. But how often does a guy get to come into a league and just know that he's got a future Hall of Famer that when he's in trouble, he can just huck the ball over to, and that guy's gonna catch. He's gonna be where he's supposed to be. He's gonna do what he's supposed to do. He's gonna catch what he's supposed to catch. If there was one thing Caleb Williams didn't have to worry about last year, it was Keenan Allen. Maybe that was worth the 18 to 20 million or whatever the hell he was getting paid.
Don't you think?
Because now he's got that offensive line. Now he had that year to learn. He had that safety blanket. At the same time, he's got a completely different offensive scheme. So God only knows if it even matters. But it's just, I don't know.
Think it's interesting too. Sorry, Zim. I was just going to say, I do think it's kind of interesting too that Caleb's mentioned in the past that Keenan Allen's the best player he's ever played with. He said it on podcasts before, and I think he said it in interviews before too. So there's a reason for that. I don't know exactly what it is that makes it. And he did throw to him an awful lot last year in situations where he may have been able to go somewhere else or where it was in a critical moment. He threw to Keenan Allen a lot. He really did,
especially early. Yeah. No, you make a great point. Yes, he was an expensive stopgap, like J2K says. It's just, would you like to see the money spent elsewhere? Yeah, probably. But was he worth it to allow Caleb to actually develop a little bit? I think so, because he wasn't always the first read. Caleb had to get to him in the progression. He had to, learn how to play in an NFL scheme. And I don't know, I can justify it all day long and you guys can counter argue it all day long, because ultimately we don't know what was actually happening on the field. We don't know what was going on in these guys' heads. And I just like the move because it gave your rookie franchise quarterback a Hall of Famer to throw the ball to, which I don't think can ever be considered a bad move.
If I can real quick, I was in favor of the move when it happened, most certainly, especially when all they gave up was a 4th round pick for, like you said, a future Hall of Fame wide receiver. And had they drafted more on the offensive line during the draft after they signed Keenan Allen, I probably wouldn't have looked at it so skeptically like I do now. But my biggest issue was, he was a little bit of a security blanket, but Keenan Allen dropped a lot of passes last year for a guy who was an NFL Hall of Famer in the future. There were moments where they needed a catch, and the ball was on the money, and he just flat out dropped it. And I'm talking not 3 or 4 times. I'm talking like 6 to 10 times this happened for a guy who is so sure-handed in his career. And, I'm sure there were a lot of issues, especially with the offense and the coaching and yada, yada, yada. But that's something like you can't have that for a guy of his stature and caliber as a player. And I think that may have hurt Caleb more than it did help him in those situations, because here's a guy that we brought in to rely on, and we can't count on him to catch a simple pass to move the chains to put us in a position to win this game when we're driving the field.
Good point. John, what do you think about that topic? I said Joe for that one.
I mean, look, a third wide receiver, maybe, in hindsight, not the best pick at in the first round, 9th overall. But, the kid develops into a number 1, then we're not second guessing it like we are now. I talked about the Jared Verse. That would have been a nice pick too, but hindsight's 20/20. Keenan Allen, I mean, giving up. Did we give up a draft pick for him?
4th rounder.
Okay.
4th rounder.
I'd forgotten about that. I mean, it was back there somewhere. But
let me see who they drafted with that pick. Go ahead, Tooch.
The Chargers. Who did they draft?
Yeah, I'll look it up.
I mean, at the time it seemed okay, but I mean, look, the Eberflus ship last year, that was a sinking ship, no matter what. So
yeah, somebody said, you got to look at who was scheming the plays, and that's a great point. I mean, it's a domino effect.
Yep.
You get one thing bad, it's going to fuck up the whole thing. So, and we certainly did get one thing bad. So it was a 4th round pick. I'm scrolling down here to see.
I think it was a 5th round. I think it was the 4th rounder in this draft too. This past draft, I think they traded the future 4th. And we ended up getting a 4th back this year when we traded down with Buffalo in the 2nd round, if I'm not mistaken.
That makes sense. And so
whoever our original 4th rounder was this year is probably that pick.
And I'm not seeing it real quick. Oh, maybe that's the Rams. Kyle Kennard, defensive end out of South Carolina. Speedy guy. Probably weighs 200 pounds, so I'm not thinking this guy is going to have a great NFL career, but I could be wrong. I usually am. All right, guys, you want to start to try to wrap things up here? I know everybody's tired and needs some rest and shit. I could go another couple of hours, but that's because I'm fucking
on the West
retired.
Coast. It's still kind of early here, so I'm good with whatever.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So, Zim, I know you want to leave. Maybe Jeff
I'll suck it up for whatever. It's all good.
You're such a fucking trooper, man. And people in the chat are really want to hear some more of your bad takes. Save them. You're going to stick around.
Well, I was going to say, I got one for you right off the rip. It looks like Tim is wearing Falling in Reverse shirt. I think Falling in Reverse is a pretty good band.
I love it.
That's a bad take, according to a lot of people.
And a lot of people are idiots because they're great.
Look, Ronnie Radke's a piece of shit human being. It doesn't make him not a fantastic musician.
Is,
I mean, Steven Tyler's a piece of shit human being too, but he's a fantastic musician as well. So
LT is that kind of, as a person, but as a player, I mean, good Lord, maybe the greatest player of all time.
Right. So,
Jeff,
separate the art from the artist, right?
That's right.
Jeff, you're in agreement on Falling?
I've never even heard of the guys, to be honest with you. So
yeah, I'm so
it's
happy
in
you said
category.
I'm so
Are they like
happy.
I just want to see that the AI band that Aldo puts together with that guitar player was shredding, man. That's
right. He was.
I loved it. That was like legit.
I spent so many years trying to learn to play the guitar, and I was dead after 1 minute of Aldo's AI shredder.
It was like some Dick Dale surfer shit is what was going on there.
Yeah,
well,
that's next week's show. I'm going to do a Dick Dale inspired one. But
right?
yeah, I'm having fun.
Dick Dale inspired guitar over here.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wait for Aldo's AI band to go on tour. How about this, Aldo? Would you buy this T-shirt, you guys?
No.
No, but that's mostly because I just don't buy shirts of hands cupping balls. So you know,
yeah.
Each his own, but I don't know if that one's for me. You know, speaking of what the hell were we just talking about right before that? I see, I already lost my train of thought now.
We were talking about falling.
Music. What's that?
Music.
Falling in reverse.
Yeah, and then just I don't remember. We were talking. Whatever. I can't remember now. Go ahead.
Urlacher was interviewed recently. Did anybody hear?
Some of that. Pieces of
he had some hot takes. He was like, the best quarterback he ever played with was this guy, Aldo.
Who's that? Oh,
yeah. Remember this guy?
Yeah, because he said that because he hates Cutler.
Because he hates Jay Cutler, even though they probably agree on so many things.
Politically, they do. That's for sure. Yeah, but apparently,
Orton's favorite vacation spot. Aldo.
Okay.
By the way, he looks like Carl from that Carl and Thigh show.
He kind of does look like Carl
a little bit, yeah.
Did anybody see Jay Cutler's social media posts this week? Oh my goodness. He got eaten alive and had a clapback for all of them. It was amazing, honestly.
Yeah, he shot an antler, whatever the animal is in Africa that's an endangered species. And he took a photograph, the poor animal is sitting in the foreground. And he's in the background with this smirk. And he got really fucking
But then he made a second post to all of it.
Oh,
stating
I didn't know
that what he did not shoot. What was it? It was a giant whatever. And the giant whatever is the name of the endangered species, but it was a giant, is in a descriptor word, whatever.
Gotcha.
And so it wasn't actually the endangered species. And he went on to make several points about how where it is not considered a protected species, or rather, in one country where it is considered a protected species and hunting of it is not allowed, they're almost extinct. Whereas in South Africa, where he was at doing this hunt, they're thriving because by using the funding and the space that they've got for hunting these animals, they're able to help them breed and help preserve them and help populate the wild population in order to help these animals thrive. And I was like, man, I never considered hunting as a way to actually help preserve a species, but
I've heard of that. Yeah.
For game hunters, it actually makes complete sense considering what these people pay for, this trophy that they're after. It was a really interesting thing that I had never considered before. And it actually opened my mind to a whole new line of thinking with this sort of thing. And I mean, ultimately, isn't that what we're all after? If we're truly an open-minded individual, is new ways to learn, new perceptions of things that you hadn't considered before. So
I apologize to Jay and Jay's followers and fans. It's not an endangered species, according to what Zim is saying in other reports.
According to Jay Cutler himself. Now, how viable of a source he is, who knows? But
I'm looking at outdoorlife.com right now. It says former NFL star bashed by anti-hunters and news outlets who can't keep their antelope straight. The antelope Cutler killed was a common sable, not an endangered giant sable, as many haters and headlines claim. So maybe Jay isn't as big a dick as I thought he was.
Well, let's not go that far. All right.
There you go. Thank you, Caleb. All right. I understand some people are going to stick around. We're going to talk a little pop culture. I know, Tooch, you wanted to leave, so you want to share something pop culture wise?
I wanted to. I met the other folks here are younger than you and I, Aldo.
No, I'm the youngest one here.
Not my hairline.
This is
not as old as both of you.
I mean, I'm at the age. I'll be just turned 57. But I lost another childhood friend.
Oh
and
no!
His service was Tuesday, but he's immortalized forever. There he is in his driveway from Google.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So when you go to
forever,
Google,
he lives on.
So when you go to Google and you look up that address,
look up his condo. Yeah, he's working on his car. That was my friend Mike Bodie from Naperville, Illinois.
How old was Mike when he passed?
54.
Wow, that's young.
54,
wow.
Yeah, 54. Yep, I known him since I was 9 years old.
I got underwear that's 54 years old.
I know, yeah, but Google, what is this? Google Earth. He lives forever, although Google Earth.
God bless him, man.
Yeah.
And so
I just had to throw that out there. My brother sent me that picture.
Very good.
He's still alive on Google Earth.
So, Tucci, have you seen anything or anything you want to share pop culture wise? Or are you going to get the fuck out of here?
No, what did I say? I saw the Last Rodeo. It's kind of a sports movie.
Yeah,
you know the movie I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, it was really good. It'll get you a little tear jerker. It's one of those like, you've seen these movies before, but it was good. As a former world champion bull rider. He's old now, and he's had an injury as he broke his neck one time, and he's got a young grandson and a daughter. And the grandson, they find out, has a brain tumor, needs an operation. So he enters this bull riding competition, and he, there's like $1 million purse at the end. And it's like a Legends where the young bull riders and these old guys can both compete in the same thing. And
so he enters it to pay the medical bills? To
try and win enough money to pay for the surgery and stuff. Gotcha. It's one of those heartwarming, come on, all this stuff kind of. It's like it is in essence a sports movie.
Well,
really good though. It was good.
So you recommend it?
I enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean, it's if you like sports movies, it's right in that zone, where they've got
you guys consider rodeo a sport?
It
would be, yeah.
I don't. I think it's Brokeback Mountain shit.
Bull riding.
I was just watching it last night. Like, happened to be at a restaurant where it was on TV, and I don't always. It was Buffalo Wild Wings, so a little. But I mean, you see the way these guys take a beating. I mean, it might not necessarily be a sport, but it's certainly an athletic activity. All right, I'll give it that much.
Yeah, I mean, there's that sports movie drama, I guess, where it's like there's one bull. It's like I forgot the bull's name was Ring of Fire. He'd never been rode longer than 8 seconds. He was undefeated, the bull. And it was like, you just know that it's going to come down to him. He's got to ride Ring of Fire for the money, But, it was good. It goes through a thing, and they've got to stay on for 8 seconds to move to the next round and stuff. They've got judges who score them, and there's like a leaderboard and stuff.
Those are some of my favorite movies where they put you into a world that you're not necessarily familiar with, or even if you are, but they detail that world in a way that is really fascinating. I'll give you a quick example. Martin Scorsese's Casino. There's a sequence in there where they talk about how the money is run and how it's counted and all that stuff. It's a beautiful filmmaking sequence, and it makes you feel a part of that environment, that world that the movie is creating. So it sounds cool, Tooch.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd enjoy it, although, I mean, I wouldn't give it like 10 out of 10. I would put it somewhere around 6, 7 maybe, solid kind of over there. If I was Dave Portnoy, it'd be like a 7-4 pizza, whatever, a good solid score. Yeah.
Just signed with Fox Sports. They announced, Fox Sports announces that they have fired like 6, 7 former athletes, because they've canceled some shows and stuff, and so they're going in a new direction with their programming. And then 2 days after they announced those firings, they announced that Dave Portnoy is not going to work for Fox Sports. So it appears that Fox Sports is trying to replicate the Pat McAfee success of ESPN and going with that younger, trying to target that younger crowd. Tim, have you heard about that? And if so, do you kind of agree with? Do you like Dave Portnoy?
I don't really know and listen to enough of him to say that I like or dislike him.
Yeah,
I've
I don't
listened
either.
to things that I agree with him on. I've also listened to things that I don't necessarily agree with him on. So I don't know how that's going to work. Is he still going to be able to keep Barstool Sports? How is that going to work? Is he fully full time through Fox?
They haven't announced exactly what they're going to do, but I got a feeling that because they canceled their morning show, Breakfast Ball. I got a feeling Portnoy could be a part of that morning show because that's usually a revenue generator for TV stations, morning shows and afternoon shows.
Was Breakfast Ball the one that had Joy Taylor on it?
No, that was she's also was fired. Yeah.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, she was fired. And well, I had a really crude joke, but I don't want to upset Steve Zimmerman, so I'm not going to say that.
I like pizza reviews are okay, you know.
Yeah, Portnoy's pizza reviews I like. They're really good. I especially like it when he gets into a fight with the proprietor.
There's always that chance, you know.
Fuck you for giving us a 7.8. And Dave says, that's a good score.
Did anybody watch the Home Run Derby?
I did not.
Yeah, I watched most of it.
I did watch some of it, yeah.
Yeah, that Junior Caminero, man. Oof, he's got a...
This dude has like some of the most natural raw power I have ever seen in my life. Just the sweetest, most natural quick swing. I mean, he's not a big guy that won? Like destroys the ball, dude. It's crazy.
Was that the guy that won, the catcher?
No, Cal Rayleigh ended up winning.
I bet on Caminero came down to the end to win it all because I thought, you know, Caminero has a real consistent stroke.
Yes.
You know, which was perfect for Home Run Derby, and he was 12. He was 12-1, you know, but I had the lock was first round over 17.5 homers. He had 21. I mean, that was how, you know, so that was an easy winner.
I think what killed him is he had a huge break between rounds at the end there, and he just had too long to sit. I think he would have done better, but he was, man, he like I said, that guy, he's got some he's not a big guy. He just has immense raw power for how much just natural power.
I'm calling it now. The next year's Home Run Derby champion is going to be Ellie De La Cruz. And he had talked about it. If you guys watched it, there was a part where the announcers they gave him the microphone. And he was like, I can win this thing. But he was invited last year and this year and declined both seasons. But I think next year he's going to get in now because he wants to do it. That dude, talking about with natural raw power, that is he has ridiculous natural raw power.
Yeah, him and O'Neal Cruz both.
Yes,
Cruz is crazy too.
He was impressive in that Home Run Derby too.
Yep.
They both hit the ball on average 104 off the bat, which is insanity. Yeah. That's average.
Yep.
I just want him to fix the to fix the format of it all.
Yeah.
The current format is too fast paced. I'm tired of seeing these guys huffing and puffing halfway through. You remember? I mean, this was decades ago at this point, but when Mark McGwire had his amazing showcase and Ken Griffey Jr. had his, and a couple of years later, Bobby Abreu had his, and that 10 out formula that they used to have was so much more exciting.
Yes, or whatever.
I think I understand the reasoning behind why they did what they did. Because it was taking way too long to have those home run derbies with the 10 outs. I understand the reasoning behind trying to shorten the time, but then limit the amount of balls that they can watch go by.
Right. Exactly.
Do something like that. Don't change the format.
That's exactly it. Make it that any more than 3 pitches without a swing results in a loss of out or something like that. Like,
what do you think about having a pitching machine throw the ball and you get the batters in and out quicker?
No. Pitching machines are too unpredictable.
That is the one problem with that's the thing about the home run derby too, though. For every guy who's got incredible numbers in derby, how many home runs they hit, a lot of it has to do with their pitchers. The guy who's throwing, they're just putting it where they need to have it. Some of the
I like the stories too.
Aren't getting in their sweet spots, and they're not hitting it like that. So
Cal Raleigh had his dad, who was his coach.
Yeah. That's part of it. That's part of it too, though. It's like that's a heartwarming part of the derby too. These guys bring in somebody that they've been working with forever. It's like it's part of the nostalgia. So I don't know about the machine because of that.
That's just it. The story's just as much a part of the derby as the derby itself. So no, I understand the argument for the pitching machine, especially with how advanced they've become nowadays. But pitching machines can always jam. They can always have issues. They're always going to throw a random knuckler, no matter how well you have them dialed in. It's just a part of the technology, and I don't think we'll ever overcome it with the current technology that we have. We're going to have to find a different way to launch a ball. Again, the timed rounds, these guys are clearly overexerting themselves. It's not as interesting to watch by and that's just it too. How many of these guys are putting their bodies at risk? Look at Jazz Chisholm, right? And this is an argument that's been done from time to time. I think Jermaine Dye, if I remember right, had a similar argument when he did the home run derby years and years ago. I think he did it in 06 or 07. But regardless, he didn't want to change his swing for the home run derby, right? And that's why he hit so few. And it's a same side of the argument, in the sense of like, they don't want to change what they're doing, but by taking 50 swings in 2 minutes, how much are you changing your mechanics? How much are you putting extra power? I mean, and granted, they're probably not going to suffer any major lasting injuries by doing that, because let's be real. How often do the guys really hurt themselves swinging the bat? Usually it's like a pre-existing injury that gets exacerbated by swinging the bat. But how many of these guys don't know that they have that pre-existing injury because it didn't flare up enough for them to notice it until they swing the bat 50 times in 2 minutes, and so on and so forth. It's just...
Hey, I got a question for Tim. Do you ever? I know that Jeff plays a softball. You ever play baseball? Because I know Tooch played baseball. He was a catcher.
Let's actually were catchers here. All right.
I'm sorry.
I did play baseball growing up, and I coach it now. I coach my son's travel.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
But I played slow pitch softball for a long time. From the time I was 15 until I was probably close to 30. And a few years back, I was playing a group of guys that I worked with at my last job. We used to play football on the weekends. Every Saturday we play flag football. And then we actually put together this huge game between us and an Indianapolis part of our company, another plant or another office. Okay. And I broke my ankle playing in one of those games, and I stopped. I haven't played softball or anything since. But
did you sue? Are you a millionaire?
No. It was in one of those flag. It was in one of those practice games, those flag football things. Not in the big game, but just us guys practicing one day.
Yeah, I had a corporate job, and we did an outing where we played softball, and one of the guys broke his ankle. Mm-hmm. And I know my boss was like calling me, is he all right? Is he going to sue us? Is he going to, because we did it without the okay of the HR department or whatever legal department. And so the guy had like a serious ankle injury. And so my boss was constantly calling me and trying to get information. So that's dangerous stuff. All right. Tooch, you going to stick around a little, talk pop culture, or you got to go?
Yeah, I could stick around a little bit. I just wanted to final thoughts on the Ryan Poles extension, like thumbs up or thumbs down for all you guys.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Look at Zim.
Thumb sideways.
That's fair. I'm in here. That's fair.
Yeah. Like halfway jerk off. Can I do that? Like halfway jerk?
Yeah.
You do that?
I mean,
I was just going to say real quick. I know I'm going to sound like a hypocrite because at the end of last season, I was calling for his firing, for Ryan Poles to be fired. But now I think he's redeemed himself. The Ben Johnson, the draft, reflecting on the trade for Caleb and stuff. I think he's done a lot to fortify this team, and hopefully with a good coaching staff, the team can meet it. So I'm not too pissed off at Poles like I was,
because it is quite astonishing or surprising that not too long ago we were called for his head. Now we're like,
yes.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm going to kind of give it a thumbs up too as well. And I've had my moments where I've slammed him quite a lot in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think some of his free agents moves were terrible. We're not sure if he's really that good of a drafter. If you go back and look at his drafts, he's got like maybe 1 or 2 or 3 out of 7, 8, 11 guys that he drafted. Mm-hmm. And then, but now it's like, okay, and we would have said he's a rookie GM. We don't, he's learning on the job and we shouldn't hire a rookie GM. So now the guy's a veteran, Aldo.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, the continuity outweighs a lot of that stuff. So I think he's shown some leadership, and like Aldo said, the Ben Johnson, setting the cap up, the draft this year looks pretty good. We'll see though. There's always that chance that it just looked good on paper.
Exactly. But he's made the right decision in terms of hiring a head coach who has, on paper or reputation, however you put it, can get the most out of the talent that's on the team. We know that Eberflus was incapable of doing that, particularly on the offensive line, and arguably he did on the defense. But now he's got a coach and a defensive coordinator. This is top of the line coaching staff. And I don't want to get into this now because we don't have enough time. But when you look at who departed the Chicago Bears and who was replaced by those departures, it's fucking very impressive. Real quick. So Larry Borum leaves and we replace him with Ozzie Trapillo. Huge win. Fucking huge win.
Yeah.
Tevin Jenkins leaves and we replace him with Joe Tooney. Fucking big. I got an idea right now for a video to do on this. So I could go through all the names, but I don't want to take too much time. Let's talk some pop culture. Great point, Tooch, on the Poles thing. Let's go around the horn. I would love to hear what you guys have to say in terms of recommending some music or movies or so forth. Let's start with Jeff, who's got a Supertramp t-shirt on.
Well, a couple of things. So first of all, J2K's here in the chat, so I'm going to bring this up right now.
Excellent.
So J2K mentioned on my show a couple weeks ago a song by Mark Knopfler from the Dire Straits, who, if you guys aren't familiar, Mark Knopfler is one of the greatest guitar players of all time.
Mm-hmm.
He did a solo song on his own called, I think it's What It Is. Is that right, J2K? I went back and listened to it. It has a folky country feel to it, is what I kind of got from it. He gives me like a Neil Young vibe almost, with that signature Mark Knopfler sound. Like he's got that. It's kind of hard to explain. It's almost a little twangy, but it kind of vaguely reminds me. Weirdly, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Traveling Wilburys. It reminds me of the song "End of the Line" a little bit. If you guys are familiar with it, you guys ever heard of the Traveling Wilburys before?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
So if you guys aren't familiar, the Traveling Wilburys, I'll try to keep this as simple as possible. So George Harrison from the Beatles was working on a solo record back in the late 80s. And at the time, the producer that was working on his record was a guy named Jeff Lynne, who was with the Electric Light Orchestra, the guitar player, the singer for Electric Light Orchestra, founded the group. Well, Jeff Lynne was producing the album at the time. And he was out to dinner with him and Roy Orbison because he was also producing an album for Roy Orbison at the time, Mystery Girl, which had You Got It on it. So while they're sitting at dinner one night, they're trying to figure out, they got to come up with this B-side for a song on George Harrison's album. So they decide they're going to get together to make this song together, the three of them. And they're like, well, where are we going to do this at? We got to figure out a place to go. So they get a hold of Bob Bob Dylan. I can't remember exactly how it went, but they ended up getting a hold of Bob Dylan and Tom Petty because I think it was Dylan had a recording studio at his house, but they had to go get something from Tom Petty's or something along those lines. So they all got together in this recording studio and made this song "End of the Line," or it might have been "Handle with Care." Actually, I'm pretty sure it's "Handle with Care." And when they put the song together, the guy who was mixing the record together said, "Guys, this is not a B-side. This is a hit. You gotta come together and make an album." So that's what they did. They formed the Traveling Wilburys and they made an album. And shortly after that, Roy Orbison passed away. So, but yeah, that's kind of the origin of that. It was a really kind of interesting story how that all came together. But yeah, they got a couple good songs. "Handle with Care" is a good one. "End of the Line." They were their big hits. But yeah, if you guys haven't heard of them, that was a really interesting way for them to come together, I thought. And the other thing I wanted to bring up that I don't want to forget about now, we were talking about Dick Dale earlier. You guys ever heard the song "Pipeline"? Dick Dale and Stevie Ray Vaughan. It's a really cool guitar solo. There's no words. It's no singing. It's just straight guitar parts. We used to listen to it all the time when I was a kid on the way to wrestling tournaments. So like I said, I don't know if you guys heard of it, but it's one of my favorite guitar
Absolutely.
songs.
Yeah, good stuff.
So
what do you got going
this
on?
guitar behind me, just for a little fun fact, this guitar behind me, this silver one here, this is very similar to the guitars that Dick Dale used to play. It is a baritone Telecaster with a humbucker on it, which for people who don't speak guitar, it's just nonsense words. But for people who understand guitar, not a very common combination to find. And it is the exact combination that gave Dick Dale his signature sound. So
pretty cool.
And yes, PZ, you're right. There were 2 albums from Traveling Wilburys. The second one was after Roy passed away, so he wasn't part of that. But I didn't mean to cut you off, Zim. I just wanted to mention what they were talking about in the chat. But yeah, that guitar is good. Sweet, dude. I mean, that would be awesome.
I'm just rambling, and I love to show this thing off because I found it and purchased it on a whim because I wanted a baritone guitar, and I found it at a really good price. And it's just a sweet piece of equipment that I own that is part of.
Well, hold it a little closer to the camera. I want to show it off. And I know that
I've always had a thing for tellies too. I like Telecasters a lot. I don't know why.
Yeah, well, I wanted a Telecaster for a long time, and I was in a band at the time that used exclusively. That's the word I'm looking for. We used exclusively baritone instruments. So I bought this because I got tired of borrowing my buddy's Schecter, which is more of a metal style guitar, because I wanted something a little more versatile. And this, thanks to the humbucker, can handle metal music really well and get very chunky. But at the same time, it can handle surf rock, blues, jazz, typical rock and roll. I mean, really any genre of music that you can think of that involves, drum, bass, guitar, this thing can handle. And the fun part of it is it still sounds like a Telecaster no matter what. But again, with the humbucker, you can distort the shit out of it and, play Falling in Reverse on it.
Humbucker is a fucking funny name, man.
That is a beautiful fucking guitar.
Tim, what do you got for us pop culture wise?
So I took my my 5-year-old, he just turned 5 last week, and so for his birthday he wanted to go see the new Jurassic World movie, which by the way was really, really, really good. I wasn't sure how it was going to be because the whole cast got completely recast, but it was really good. It was really well done. Honestly, better than the last, which I thought the last movie would be a lot better because it was like Dr. Grant and Ellie both returning, and it didn't live up to the hype, I don't think. But this one was actually really good. I'm trying to think what else. I've been watching, and Jeff and I have talked about this on our show a few times. I've finally got into Game of Thrones probably 2 months ago. I'm almost finished with that, and that.
You can just, if you're almost finished, you can probably.
I know.
Just stop.
I've heard. I know. It was. I mean, the first several seasons were so good, unbelievably good. But
you do have to see the conclusion.
You do,
right?
And I'll say, like, I wasn't as disappointed as a lot of people were with the finale, because to me, the finale just made logical sense. And in some ways, like, that is kind of a good cap on the whole thing. But at the same time, I mean, has a show ever shot itself in the foot as hard as that show did? From being the cultural phenomenon that it was to being culturally irrelevant in such a short period of time. It's like if Breaking Bad ended with Walt dying of cancer. It's like the whole thing would have been rendered completely pointless. And that's exactly kind of what Game of Thrones did.
I'll just say, like, if sorry, Aldo, before you
go ahead.
I'll just say, as far as Game of Thrones is concerned, if you continued to watch and you could handle that show after the end of the first season, you weren't disappointed enough by that, you can handle the end of the show too. And you probably should watch that.
I agree. Because it is well produced. I mean, that those concluding scenes in the very last episode have an epic, just like the most of the shit in the series has an epic feel to it, and it was pretty cool. But I do agree that it was disappointing, and there are reports that the guys who were most responsible for the show, the two executive producers, showrunners, that they were already working on the next TV show, next project, and so they had divided attention, and that's a recipe for disaster. And then the other thing that I want to say is finales for shows are the most difficult. Seinfeld, and there's been in the history of movies and TV shows, it's very, very difficult for that final act, for that final show, episode and stuff to be done well.
Yeah.
How I Met Your Mother is another one in recent memory that a lot of the loyal fan base fell short quite significantly in the same sense that Game of Thrones did. It's funny because I was just reading about that recently. And then, Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, they both really kind of hold up well over time. And, like, in my opinion, Better Call Saul makes Breaking Bad a better show, which is very hard to do because it was already a very good show. But to me, when you go back and rewatch both of them, to me, Breaking Bad was exciting, like, for the haul that it took you along. And then when you watch it a second time, you're like, oh my God, this guy's wife is got to be the most annoying thing I've ever seen.
She is the most deplorable character, like, fucking TV show history, dude. She's so fucking annoying. My
but
God.
At the same time, she's written very realistically. Like, what would she, like, I mean...
Do you remember that first episode? She's jerking her husband off in bed while she's watching TV. It's like, perfunctory. It's like, I got to do this while I'm watching whatever the hell I'm watching. It was so awful. I mean, that character, she was awful. And it's hard to say. I mean, because Walter White was the fucking worst. Yeah. And he was driven towards all the dark side by his health issues. But that doesn't excuse the fact that he was a terrible guy. And I just saw that scene. It came up on my social media feed where Jesse is telling him, Jesse had all these bruises and stuff. So I don't quite remember how it was. Somebody beat him up. Something terrible happened. But Jesse's like yelling at him and saying, Walter, you're the worst thing that's ever happened in my life. I've lost everything that I've loved, everything that I've had, everything because of you. And I just saw that clip and it reminded me of the episode, and it just reminded me of how terrible a person Walter was. And Tony Soprano, too. I mean, people pulling for Tony Soprano. I'm like, really? Should we be doing that? I mean, this motherfucker's killing people. He's taking his daughter to college. He's, getting people hooked on shit. I don't know, man. America sometimes is a little weird with their affection towards the anti-hero. Sometimes they would go a little overboard.
Well, there's a reason we love Aaron Rodgers, right?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayhem. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Mr. Mayhem. Jesse Pinkman got those bruises from Hank. Absolutely. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. What else pop culture wise?
I don't know if you guys are. So I love history. Jeff and I have talked about this in the past. Absolutely love history. I like when I'm working during the day, I like to listen to podcasts, whether I'm driving or whether I'm stocking a store or whatever. I love listening to podcasts. I like to listen to a lot of stuff on history. I've been obsessed for years with the JFK files and that conspiracy, which, by the way, there was definitely not a single shooter. I don't care what anybody says. Go read the facts. Not the case.
Totally.
But anyway, I've been into this, and I have been literally infatuated and obsessed the last 2 or 3 weeks with the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. I have been listening to everything, all the facts, everything with it. I don't know if you guys have been into that like I have been, but politically, either side of the aisle, I don't care which side of the aisle you're on, there is no way that you could not want to hear this and not want to find out what's really. And it's not even about Epstein. He's dead. It's about how many people were actually involved in this scheme, which I don't care what it says. There's been tons. He didn't rape 1,000 girls by himself. There were a lot of people involved in this, and there were a lot of people. Where did he get all of his money? There is a lot into this, and I just think, like, I have been so invested in this, trying to find out every ounce of information that I can on it. And there's been a lot of fact finding that people have gotten into. And now today, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Trump over the last few weeks has said that he's not going to pay this any more attention. And then today said they're going to release the jury files from the Epstein case. So that will be, I think that's going to be a real eye opener, because there has to be some things in that. Because if you guys don't know about that, he got this absolute sweetheart deal and served almost zero prison time. No, zero prison time. It was jail time. And in that jail time, he was home on the weekends, and during the day, he had 12 hours of free time. So it's like there was actually no actual punishment for anything that he did, even though proven that he had child sex trafficked. So.
And Tim, I've been following it too. The issue with releasing the grand jury testimonies, or what Trump said, release pertinent stuff, is that those grand jury hearings were about Maxwell, Epstein's girlfriend, who helped facilitate sex and the sex trafficking, and so. There's not likely to be for there to be a lot of information about other people. It is primarily information about what Epstein and Maxwell did. And so the left is saying, well, yeah, but what we really want to see were the notes that were taken by lawyers, the videos. We want to see that flight log. Those testimonies from the grand jury probably are not going to yield anything, and therefore the president is going to say, "See, I'm clear of it. It could be a strategic approach towards getting out of this issue, because of course the crosshairs are on Trump, because he was friends with Epstein during this era of the sex trafficking. It's a wild case, Tim, and I think it deserves our attention. But I also agree with a lot of Republicans who say there's other news to report on. I saw a news show today that was the entire 60-minute news show was about the Epstein stuff. There's other stuff to cover here. Let's not make a bigger deal. Now, I don't mean to sound insensitive to the victims, because the biggest part of the story, of course, are there's teenage girls, underage girls, whose lives are just ruined by the fact that they fell into the clutches of these powerful people who made them promises and then just had sex with them and disposed of them like they were garbage. And that's really, really sad, no doubt. But I'm a history fan too, Tim, and I love to follow history. There's all sorts of cool stuff out there, podcast-wise, TV-wise, and stuff. You guys ever watch like the History Channel or any of these channels that cover stuff? And man, this stuff is fascinating. My wife is always watching that stuff, and it gets me drawn into it. Really cool stuff.
I watch some documentaries is what I do. Like it's sometimes it'll be like war documentaries or things like that, like on Hulu or whatever. I'll check them out. Like there was one I watched several months ago about the Third Reich and like the rise and fall of Hitler and stuff. And I watched. It was pretty good. Sometimes you always get some kind of piece of information you didn't hear before about that situation. Tim and I had a really, really, really good history teacher in high school. So little backstory here. I failed American history or I'm sorry, I can't think of the word, junior year history when I was in high school. And I had to retake the class as a senior. Well, I transferred my senior year to where Tim went to school. So we ended up having the same teacher for this class, just in different years. And the guy's name was Mr. Toma. And this guy was so good about like both teaching history in and of itself and like making it an interesting enough topic for everybody to actually want to pay attention, because, you know, some people don't care for history. You know, they don't want to listen to the stuff that's happening. They're not interested in that. He had a way of like making it so everybody could understand it, and was like, you know, the way he would talk about like how the reasons why Hitler hated Jews and stuff like that. It was like really eye-opening, like how he knew this and how it ended up becoming the way it did, and just like how it overblew into a war and things of that nature. It's crazy. And it's really something to, they always say history repeats itself. So that's why I think it's always important to pay attention to stuff, what's happened, because it's going to end up happening again if we're not careful.
Absolutely. A good history teacher can get those jaded students to pay attention to history if they can figure out a way to connect it to what is happening now, figure out a way to make it relevant. Because, I think all of us, the five of us and everybody probably in the chat, probably went to a history class and we were fucking bored out of our mind. And usually it's because the teacher just kind of fails to connect the dots for us. By the way, J2K has a real talk question. He says, do you think Trump is covering Israel's military expansion with the Epstein file? And Tim is saying yes.
Yes.
Tell me why, Tim.
If I had to speculate, I think and it's not really speculation because there's a lot of fact behind this. The former Israeli prime minister was pretty much living in his house on Epstein Island. There's just I don't know if it's so much. I was shaking my head emphatically yes, but I'm not so sure it's necessarily Trump covering it up. But I do think that there's a lot that they are afraid to talk about, because I think the whole thing, I believe wholeheartedly that he wasn't not necessarily an agent. Everybody's talking about how they think Epstein was an agent, but I do believe he was 100% a Mossad asset. Like, if you guys don't know, the Mossad is Israel's, like, basically their CIA.
CIA, right?
Yeah, I do think that he was some sort of asset for them, and I think that Israel is in control of a lot of this stuff. And I don't want to get into that whole can of worms, because I don't like the nation of Israel right now. I don't like that. I think Netanyahu is an absolute. He's no better than anybody else right now. He's no better than Iran and their leaders. I don't like the guy at all. I understand that Israel is like the nation of Christ or of the Bible, but I think that's all taken out of context. I don't want to get into all that. But in any case, I don't like the direction they're going, and I think they have been involved in a lot of things with the CIA in the past in America, and there's just there's too much evidence towards it. There just is. Mm-hmm. And I do think that if this would get out, it's going to reveal that Israel and the Mossad are responsible for a lot of things that have gone wrong in this country, for sure.
That's the worry.
Yes.
You know, Americans want to know if there's a blackmail ring.
Right.
But we all want to know whether, you know, whichever political party or country are involved, they want to know. You know, and I think you can tie it into the JFK assassination as well. It's possible that this country hasn't been free or run by a president since Kennedy was assassinated. It could be the intelligence community who are calling all the shots, and I've heard politicians and TV reporters say that everybody gets the call. You know, like someone the man in black comes to visit you. You know, and hey, you're going to do this, or you know, this is going to happen. You know, and while there's no evidence for it, there's certainly a lot of smoke. You know, and
the staring ass, was this kind of started because of the Elon Musk, Trump falling out, and Musk going on his social media platform and claiming that Trump is on the Epstein files. What do you think, Tooch?
I don't know. I mean, I would like to know. You know, I don't think we'll ever know, though. You know, it's possible you have to, in order to be president, you got to be on the fucking list of Epstein, you know, just to be president, you know, so you can be controlled or blackmailed or whatever. But certainly there's a lot of events that have happened in America's past that you could say, hey, maybe Israel's not our greatest ally, you know, like the USS Liberty, 9/11 dancing Israelis, and, you know, a bunch of them didn't go to work that day. There's all sorts of things, you know, without evidence we can't really say for certain, but it's definitely food for thought.
Absolutely. All right, guys. What else? Oh, by the way, the topic of Dexter, the TV show.
Yeah.
Raise
What a
your
great
hand.
cast. I haven't watched it, but look at the cast.
Okay.
Uma Thurman, Peter Dinklage. Man.
I'm interested in learning from Zim and Tim and Jeff. Have you guys watched Dexter or at least know about the show?
Yeah, I watched a lot of Jervon Dexter's tape last season, and I really
yeah.
Okay, so let me share this. Dexter.
There's 2 episodes, right, Aldo?
There's 2 episodes from Resurrection,
okay.
But going back, Dexter is the story first done in novel format of a guy who is a forensic scientist for the Miami Police Department. His specialty is on blood splatter. But what we learn about Dexter is that he was born with in blood, as they say in the series. He, as a 2 or 3 year old child, witnessed his mother killed by a serial killer, and there was just blood all around him. And so he, as a child, grew up wanting to kill things, wanting to kill rabbits and all sorts of things, because he just had this fascination with blood and killing. Well, his adopted father was a police officer, the guy that actually found him in this situation, and he groomed him and taught him a code. You can continue with your fascination to kill people, because it was growing from killing animals to killing people. But you've got to have a code, and that code is to go after people who escape the law, who you know are absolute criminals, and go out there and kill them. And so Dexter does, and he becomes quite good at it. And so that's the first season, and subsequent seasons have him chasing after a new serial killer. So it's a serial killer after a serial killer. It's one of the
dispatches serial killers.
Yes,
I love it.
With great actors.
Yeah.
John Lithgow is one.
Wow.
Jimmy Smits is one of the serial killers.
John Lithgow on that show was
so fucking good. And I'm telling you, it's one of the darkest fucking shows I've ever. Because here's a guy. He has a guy saran wrapped on a killing board, and he takes his knife and he's killing these people, and you're okay with it. It's like, wait a minute. Talking about liking anti-heroes.
Like some law-abiding citizen shit there.
Yeah. Where can you stream Dexter? Is it on Netflix or what's it on?
It's a Showtime. It's a Showtime show.
Is it Resurrection's on Paramount Plus, though, I think.
Yeah, but also Showtime.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So Dexter and Resurrection are 2 different shows in theory?
Resurrection's the new series.
Yes. So
year.
You can gather by the title is that something happened last season that Dexter has been resurrected. I won't give away too much because there's some nice surprises.
And there was a break in between the old series, right, Aldo?
That's right. That's right.
So the original series Dexter is only on Showtime. Is that what you're saying?
Everything is just on Showtime.
So is that Max?
I thought reruns might be.
No, that's Paramount Showtime. It's a CBS.
Yeah. Oh, so it's on Paramount Plus, probably.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm sure it is. Yeah. It really is a fascinating show, and the acting is top notch. The series regulars, when the series first started, they were mostly unknowns. Although the guy that plays Dexter was also on the HBO series 6 Feet Under, but everybody else was mostly unknown. And but the guest stars were really fucking good actors, and it started in season 2 with John Lithgow. He was fucking phenomenal as as the serial killer. I don't want to give away too much, so I'll shut up.
His dad is played by Ajax from the Warriors, James Remar. Do you
Yes,
remember,
yes.
the Warrior come out to play? I don't know. Do these guys know that movie?
Tim, Jeff, have you guys seen the Warriors?
Yeah, I remember that scene, but I cannot remember the movie. I
feel sad the younger generation doesn't know this movie, Aldo.
We probably did see it when we were young and just don't remember.
I think we did because I remember
Walter
that.
Hill is the director.
About wherever you are, I remember that.
Aldo loves this director too.
Oh yeah, Walter Hill, absolutely great action film director, absolutely. I'm gonna try to cue up a great scene in the Warriors movie. Let me see if I can find it first, and then we can talk about it. I think I've done this once before with Dan Aguirre because he hasn't seen the movie either. Oh,
What?
Here it is. I found it. Dan Aguirre.
He's never seen Warriors.
I don't think he has. No,
you youngsters. The movie was what 1977, I think.
No.
78.
I want to say 78, maybe. Yeah,
around there. 79, maybe.
Right.
Is it like one of those? Is it like a spoof movie? Is that what it's supposed to be like?
No. The premise of the Warriors is that a gang leader calls all of New York's gangs together to convince them we have more gang members than they have police officers.
Yeah.
We can take over this city. And so while he's on this diatribe, he gets shot, and one gang points at the Warriors and say, "The Warriors did it. They didn't do it." But everybody now in the city,
all
of
the
New York,
gangs. They're after the Warriors. They've got to fight their way back to their home turf, which is Coney Island.
Oh, that is such a cool premise. All right, I'm
they
gonna
fight gangs on the way and stuff. You're just like,
Yep.
But I mean, it's silly. It's like far fetched, but it's good.
I'm going to show you this scene here real quickly.
Did we lose these fucking clowns or what? Look.
That's his dad.
Holy shit.
Baseball Furies. When I was a little kid, I was scared of those baseball.
Oops.
Happens, but
there we are.
You'll have to watch it, you guys. Classic.
I vaguely remember that. I do vaguely remember that, but
sorry about that.
As far as the rest of the movie, I
I'm going to see what that's streaming on. The Warriors.
Yeah, I don't know where it's streaming on, but it's a good action film.
Yeah, you'll enjoy it. It's a B movie, solid B movie.
The acting is terrible. I will say,
except for that guy with the bottles who made a career of being a psycho.
Warriors, come on,
David Patrick Kelly.
Yes, except for him.
Yeah.
But Walter Hill was a great action film director, known for not giving a shit about the actors. He wouldn't tell them, this is the motivation or anything like that. Just go over there, say their line, and then run off screen. that was his. But he made great action films in that era of the 70s and 80s. Yes.
Yeah, there was that whole kind of genre or style of movie like. Do you remember like Death Race 2000?
Sylvester Stallone was in that.
Sylvester Stallone. That kind of movie where it's like, it's so bad and cheesy and the story, the concept is so over the top that it's good.
Yes.
You know?
When I was 19, 20 years old at the Biograph Theater on Lincoln Avenue in Chicago, they had a B-movie festival from like 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. And so you brought pillows and blankets, you paid your $10, you got in, you watched all these movies and that were just disgusting, low budget very violent movies, and that was one of them. That was the first time I saw Death Race 2000. It was a fucking, and it was great too, because you could leave the theater and come back in. So me and my girlfriend would leave, smoke some marijuana, and then get back into the theater and watch the next feature. That was a great time.
Yeah, Quentin Tarantino has, I don't know if it's a podcast or he did some long form interviews where he talks about a lot of these movies. In fact, he broke down Bullet. Steve McQueen.
I saw that recently.
Did you see that interview? That was great. With Steve McQueen and the kind of star that Steve McQueen wanted to be, and what kind of movies that he would select and stuff. But yeah, the Warriors is that part of, lives in that kind of, late night, fantasy action movie.
Right.
Only the 70s.
Mr. Mayhem says there's a video game on PS2.
Yeah, there's a video game. I didn't know that. That's great. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. All right, guys. Any final things before we wrap up? I know that Zim is.
One last thing for I think it was Tim. If I know you said you like the history stuff, but if you watch, there's a documentary called From JFK to 9/11, Everything is a Rich Man's Trick by Francis Connolly. It's a documentary. Well, I think it won like best documentary or something, some kind of award. But it kind of goes through, the whole history from JFK to 9/11 and all of these, things that people overlooked. Everything is a rich man's trick of who the powerful movers and shakers were behind those events. It was really great, man. It's broken down. The guy, Francis Connolly, is an Irish former priest, became a journalist, and really delivered. It's long, man. I think it's like over 3 hours long, but you will not be able to pause it or set it down or put it away or whatever.
Right, won't.
What's it called?
What streaming service is it on?
I'm not sure. From 9/11 to JFK, No, from JFK to 9/11, got that. From JFK to 9/11, Everything is a Rich Man's Trick by Francis Connolly.
Yeah, I see it here on IMDb. Let's see if I can find out where it's streaming.
Yeah, you might be able to find it on YouTube or what's that other Vimeo maybe or whatever. One of those.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, or on Prime, you'd have to pay like a small rental fee or something for it. Not sure, but definitely worth it.
I'll be looking for it for sure. Yeah, I'm totally into that stuff.
Yeah, JFK to 9/11, Everything is a Rich Man's Trick, and IMDb is not listing a provider for that, so you have to do a little hunting.
Suspiciously buried, Aldo.
Oh! How many times does that happen, right?
Yeah.
By the way, D. Starren is saying, watch the first part of that Pee Wee documentary. It's very interesting. It is.
It's Netflix, I think.
Yes,
right?
it's on Netflix. Yeah. If you were a Pee Wee Herman fan, give that a shot because he had a really fascinating backstory. And then, of course, we know what happened in the...
Barry View says it's on YouTube.
Oh, okay. The JFK to 9/11.
Yep. That'll be easy to find.
Yep. Yeah.
For free.
All right. Zim, any final thoughts? Crickets. Oh, well, not. It kind of sounds
muted.
No.
I've been watching.
I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth.
God. Oh, my.
You know what? I did not mean to play that. I was going to play the crickets. Okay. That was you. I was reaching for the crickets, and Tooch...
Worse than mine.
Yes, Tooch is reaching for the cock one. Anyway.
Well, what else is new?
Yeah, exactly.
Guys, I'm sorry. I forgot I was on the podcast for a little while there and thought I was just listening to one. That kind of day. Hey, you guys are entertaining. You're great to listen to. You're great company to have. No, recently I've been watching a YouTube series from the creator Ryan Trahan. It's a little more geared towards the younger crowd. If there's anybody out there around my age or younger listening, or somebody looking for some family-friendly content, They're doing 50 states in 50 days.
I heard that. Yes.
They're visiting all 50 states. They're going to the most unique Airbnb that they could find along their route in each state.
Wow.
They are currently in, well, their most recent upload is Minnesota. They started in Texas. They worked west and then stopped before they got to California, went north, and then worked back across the southern United States, up through New England, across the East Coast, the Atlantic coast, and then kind of worked back down. And now they're up going through the Midwest before they hit the Dakotas, Minnesota, Idaho, and the West Coast, and then ultimately Alaska and Hawaii somewhere along the route. Anyway, it's been super
Have they been to
interesting.
Iowa yet?
Not yet. Okay. I have a feeling that's tomorrow's video, considering they're in today's video is Minnesota. So
it's on YouTube.
Yes, so it's a free series on YouTube. They're raising money for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. They've raised over $5 million so far. Sweet. It's just been, and it's daily uploads. They're doing this every single day. You gotta send it to me. It's got me and my wife hooked. We've watched every single day from the very first day because he's a creator we already followed. And again, it's wholesome, family friendly content.
Nice. Can you text it to me?
Of course. Yeah. It's 20 to 40 minutes a day just to sit down as a family, watch it, enjoy it. And the kids love it. They see all these cool places they're going and wow, that'd be so cool to visit there someday. And, of course, in Illinois, they actually went in Chicago of all places. It's the only major city, I believe, that they've been to so far along their route. They've kind of stayed in places out in the boonies, for lack of a better word, with most places they've been to. And don't get me wrong, I mean, some gorgeous sights, some beautiful things that they've seen, some super interesting things that they've done along the way. But yeah, it's like I say, it's kept mine and my wife's interest for the last few weeks, and we will continue to watch it for the next couple of weeks. In addition to that, we watched the first episode of White Lotus last night. I've heard a lot of hype about the show. I'm curious to watch it. The first episode, I don't think hit it very well.
Season 1?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we started at season 1, episode 1 last night. And I gotta say, if it wasn't for all the hype around the show, I don't know that I'd really be pushing to watch episode 2.
Wow.
And we're gonna slow roll this. We watch our shows slowly, maybe one episode a night, maybe one episode every 2 to 3 days, so we take our time on these shows. We don't really do the binging thing these days because we don't have the time to do it. And so these shows, and this is an argument I've held for a long time, and it's true if you actually look at it. But these shows that are developed in today's streaming age are designed to be binged, right? They're designed for you to watch 8-9 episodes in a row and then turn it off and then come back to it. It's very difficult to watch a lot of modern shows 1 episode a week. And I mean, try it. Go back and watch Seinfeld 1 episode a week and see how you want to watch it next week. See how it still piques your interest and keeps you coming back. Whereas go watch Game of Thrones is not a very good example either, because Game of Thrones, again, you watch it 1 episode a week. That's it. But I mean, and they keep you coming back week after week after week. Whereas you watch, I'm trying to think of a show that drops all at once these days. 13 Reasons Why. Stop watching 13 Reasons Why after 1 episode and tell me that you really care about it a week later. Just as an example off the wall, it's the way that shows are designed. And when they're designed to be a week by week show, it's a lot more interesting to me than a show that's designed to be all at once. So I'm interested to come back to it, although I do feel like it's a victim of that modern, binging,
easier to binge
timeline. Yeah. So we'll see how I feel after we're all done with that first season, and if I'm interested in a season 2, or if it's like, no, this really did fall flat to me. Again, like a lot of these shows, season 1's, look at Stranger Things, for fuck's sake. Like that's the one that jumps to the front of my mind with all this. It's taken them 9 years to make 5 seasons. That's unheard of. It's to the point where you go back and rewatch season 1 and you're like, this is irrelevant. Nobody cares about this anymore. The 80s nostalgia that they were originally hitting on and vibing on and pushing it all on, is so irrelevant in today's day and age because so many things have happened in the last 9 years that 80s nostalgia is no longer clickbaitable, or whatever you want to call it. It's not the flavor of the week anymore, but they picked their poison and now they're stuck in it. And, for the diehards, like my oldest son, he absolutely loves it and he can't get enough of it. Whereas me, I went back and tried to rewatch season 1 recently, and I was like, "This is unwatchable shit. This is just fan service. This is them just trying to pack as many 80s references into a 90-minute show as they can. This is not even a good show. This is just Stephen King's It with a modern day twist. What are we doing here?" So,
Tim thinks with his mustache that the 80s nostalgia is still very much alive. He just wants to let you know that one.
Freddie Mercury would agree.
My uncle.
What's
Freddie Mercury?
And Jenny thing? It's all football.
Good stuff.
All right, well, that's all I had. That's my little pop culture rant for the week.
I got one little thing. Did you say that was Don Burr in the chat room, the Lions fans?
I think that guy who was becoming an asshole, I think that was Don Burr.
Well, I was watching Bears now, and I found out that we're not the only ones.
Lions fan that watches this show. I'm blanking on his name. Don Burr, really? Is that going to happen? Come on. Let's run the North here. Hit that subscribe button. Free and daily Bears content.
We're not the only one he bothers, Aldo.
Yeah, he's been bothering them for a while.
I've said for a long time, Don Burr must be the number one Bears fan on the planet. The number of Bears podcasts I see him commenting on.
Yep.
He have time for Lions content with how many Bears content providers are watching?
100%.
I don't know how he even knows the Lions roster because he's always on Bears press conferences, Bears podcasts, on and on and on. I mean, there's something weird going on there. But anyway, fuck Don Burr.
I saw that now. I was watching at the time. He's like talking about this Lions fan. I was like, I bet he says fucking Don Burr, and he does. And I was like.
See, I don't mind people who are fans of other teams being on, but when they when they're here just to troll, like I like this guy, Tim Richards, fan of the Lions. Sometimes he trolls a little bit, but that's okay. But when you're just doing it to entertain yourself, and if you're going to go on the Willis Twin Towers show and just troll like that, that's a slap in the face to Tim and Jeff, who have prepared, all week to do a show for Bears fans, and you're coming in here and trying to light fire to it. Fuck you. Fuck you. Have some respect for the work of other people. And I feel the same way when he's on Greg's show or Their Soulz. It's like, dude, I can take a joke for a while, but after a while, it's not funny anymore. You're just fucking with us.
Yep. It just makes me laugh that they'll sit in here and they'll just literally talk to themselves in the chat the whole time because nobody's responding to them. They're just saying.
I know people in the chat. People in the chat are much better than me. Yes, exactly. Indeed. All right, guys. If you have a final word, speak it now or forever, whatever the expression is.
Hey, Muck the General says I have some of the worst takes he's ever heard, and all I gotta say is keep tuning in to hear more.
Yeah. I promise you, even worse takes than you heard today.
Look, I'm a White Sox fan, all right? We know there's not much going on here, all right?
You and Jeff both.
There you go. That's all on the bottom. Yeah, I'm a White Sox fan too.
Well, I was going to give you credit, Aldo, but...
I grew up a Cubs fan because they were on WGN and watched them after school and so forth. But then when Ricketts bought the team, I got so fucking pissed off at how he was running the franchise. I said, fuck that.
Back then, Aldo was guys like Jerry Morales, Manny Trio, Rick Mercer, or Bobby Mercer, Rick Monday.
Oh, yeah.
All those, it was like, that was the only thing. The Sox weren't on TV.
No, they were on UHF. They were on Channel 32, and so when the Cubs and Sox were on at the same time, I'd change over to White Sox to see what the score was.
Yeah,
you could hear the guy going, beer, beer, hot dogs, hot dogs. And you go over to the Cubs game and there was this roar in the crowd and so forth. So as a kid, it was pretty obvious.
Yeah.
The team I'm rooting for is the 69 Cubs. That bit me in the ass.
Yeah, the miracle myth.
Yeah.
But
just to follow, just to finish off that thought real quick, just about, look, we all have bad takes, right? It's all about who's willing to air them out there and who's not. But that's also part of the point of this network is we're not one of those networks where everybody's arguing about who can agree the hardest, right? We're here to challenge each other. We're here to encourage new ways of thinking. We're here to try and see things from different perspectives, right? Because that's how we grow, not only as people, but as fans. Yes. Right. That's how we gain a broader view of our environment. And it's how we learn ultimately. If we all just sit here in a giant circle jerk and agree with each other all night, that's a boring show. Nobody wants to hear that. We're here to share our ideas, to think of new things, to, you know, maybe make the worst take you've ever heard completely off the wall in left field. But if it sparks a new way of thinking, then we've done our jobs correctly. Right. And that's what it's all about here. And that's what Jeff and Tim do so well on their shows. That's what I think that, you know, Tuch, Aldo, and I do well on our show is we've got a sideways way of coming at things, and we're not always going to agree. And that's totally okay, because what we can agree about is that the Chicago Bears are the best damn team in the NFL to root for, whether they're good, whether they're bad, whether they're exciting, whether they're boring. We're all going to be here through thick and thin. So that's all.
I never thought about it that way. Thank you.
That's all I got to say. Thank you all for tuning in. And that's my 2 cents, boys. I'll throw it around the horn.
I love it. That's the way it should be. This is a network that doesn't profess to have any geniuses about football and so forth. The smartest guy about football at the Barroom Network is Greg Gabriel, and sometimes he gets it wrong too. Yeah. And he has sources that are telling him misinformation. I can tell you that with 100% certainty. Nobody. What is it? The Jeff Willis quote from?
Nobody knows shit, baby.
There it is.
That's still there. You still got it.
It will be enshrined forever as a barroom quote. Absolutely. And so you know we're fans here, and Greg Gabriel is a fan now. You know, he's a fan with a lot more resources than you and I do, but he's a fan, and so we're only sharing opinions here, and feel free to disagree. We can debate about it, and I will be the first one to say, you know what, you're making more sense than I am. You win this one. Now let me go fuck your wife. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. All right, guys. I have burned enough bridges here, so let us say goodbye. Tuch is agreeing. Yes, you have.
I'm not married, Aldo. Get over here.
I'm fixed, so it doesn't matter anymore.
Tim hasn't had sex in like 20 years, so it's okay.
Tim and I are in the same boat.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Any final words? This is it.
All those shows are going to be starting back up. The Barfly Tailgate, Fantasy Football Goon, and John Buffone show.
Yeah. We will have a fresh show Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday we're off. I shouldn't say Friday because the Willis Twin Towers. So Thursday and Saturdays will be off. So fresh shows throughout the football season, 5 out of 7 days a week. That should be pretty cool. All right, Tim, Jeff, thank you so much for allowing us to impede on your Friday night space. Zim, thank you for rushing from your 10.5-hour workday and making the show. And Tuch, you know how much I love you. Kisses, French kisses for you.
Likewise. Expect something in the mail from me soon, Aldo.
Yeah, all right. It's a fucking huge dildo. Tim was just going to say that. I knew you were. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching.